Alright, that's probably close enough to a 5-minute countdown timer. Let's just make sure chat is operating as expected. It is. Very good. And am I actually showing as live on Twitch? I am. Very good. Alright, let's get into it then. Condemnation from United Contana, Swordland and Arcasia. Okay, right. We just signed a deal with Arcasia. Call from Gus Manger. Rayne's weak international leaderships. Yes, the radicals are unhappy we've signed a deal with Arcasia. Picked up the phone. Mr. President, how are you doing this fine day, if I may ask? I'm fine, you? This is usual on my end, thanks for asking. I'm calling you because I just heard blah, 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 regarding the recent initial public offering of the Ventire Stock Exchange. As you might have guessed, it's about our little venture investment of 1,000 shares worth nearly $1 million rand. I'm very pleased to say we have made gains. The shares have doubled in price from the IPO. We'll soon receive the profits made from the investment. Isn't that great? Great news. So how much did we gain? We will love it. In total, we have made nearly 2 million Swordish Ren. Incredible. Mission. We are giving Swordish people jobs to migrants from other countries. What about our own people? Immigrants are the reason our economy is not completely unsalvageable. Look at Agnolian immigrants in England. They have revitalized the whole region and in turn boosted the economy of the entire country. Simon can attest that. Statistically speaking, allowing immigrants to become part of the workforce contributes to our economy, but I agree that the current situation is very nuanced. With that said, we can't just tighten our immigration policy and expect the economy to stay the same. We need to put our economy and the recession at the forefront. Thankfully, we have just started receiving financial aid from Arcasia, and then what? We'll become their servants! First they place their warplanes in Erluri, then their armies will come. You will see. I do not approve this decision at all. Don't be dramatic. You need to be friendly with our allies. Desperate times call for desperate measures. We need to be friendly with our allies. I'm calling him dramatic. I have done this with sort of citizens in mind and nothing else. That's how they take over countries, you know. Gentlemen, can we please get back on topic? Right. Sorry, Mr. Risky. I was just saying before I was interrupted, look at the superpowers. Do you see them closing off their borders? Why do you think their economies are in such good shape? They're in their current state because they welcome immigration and use it to our advantage. We need to modernize and reach the level of the superpowers. I agree. We need to consider the economic impact of immigration. Money flow should be our utmost concern if we want to have capability to accomplish actual change. We need a decision before we move on. Mr. President, do you have any questions about the current state of immigration? What is the current legal status of immigrants? Currently, all accepted immigrants are given a work permit on arrival so that they can work and contribute to the economy of Swordland. This is currently no limit on the number of immigrants accepted. However, the number has remained stable over the past years. Despite the laws, the fact is many immigrants illegally work for corporations. That is the main issue with immigration right now, not the immigration itself. Nonsense. It is not for it is not for the unlimited amount of immigration. We wouldn't be in this state. How many immigrants live in Swordland? Official numbers show that we have anywhere between 2 to 3 million immigrants residing in Sordon. Even excluding the countless undocumented aliens in our midst, that is a very substantial amount. The primary issue is a strife that caused between less fortunate Sordor citizens and themselves. Including them in the workforce would benefit everybody, including unemployed swords. More taxes means more services. How do the immigrants usually arrive here? 3 major paths they choose. The first one is Anglan and to Agnolia border. The second is Bergia to Welland border, and the third is Lauren coast. Agnolians are the largest group. It's a light border over there, although recently political fugitives from Vogsland have been crossing the Grey Sea by boat to land on our coast. Politically persecuted Wesnek refugees tend to use the dangerous mountain passes at the Welland border. Many of them have bluish blood. This is significantly increasing the blue population inside Bergia. Let's move on to see what can be done about the situation. Very well. We promised to tighten immigration laws. Of course, as you know, I was and am still against it. I agree with David. We can turn immigration to our advantage from a financial standpoint. Advantage, you should go over the amount of disadvantage caused by immigrants. Keep our promises and focus on our own citizens. This is what I think. If we decide to tighten immigration, what does that entail? We would have to impose quotas and connected to that, stricter border control, on top of allowing our economy to take a hit. Surely the well-being of our citizens and our internal security will more than compensate for any downturn in the markets. Agreed, Sordor citizens should take priority. What are the consequences of keeping our immigration policy relaxed? Aside from keeping us on a path to prosperity, modernity, and continuous improvements, not much. Our current system is good for our era. We also have the capacity. This will allow us to continue protecting investments from foreign countries, which in turn will keep our trade steady. Stability? Stability? We're already seeing clashes between our people and foreign interlopers. You heard the lady. Swordland first. I'm ready to make a decision. Yes? We'll keep immigration laws relaxed. I'm glad you made the right choice. We'll be forced to handle new waves of migrants from Agnolia. Our border posts aren't ready. Not only that, we've just abandoned the native swords who need support the most. So this will bring a new tide of refugees from Welland. Bergia is already a difficult region to manage. This is shameful. We're not leaving Swordland unprotected. It is a logical decision. We're wrong about this. This is the reason why this country has survived century of revolutions. Thank you for your contributions. Let's wrap this up. It is such a grump. The ministers gathered their documents and rose from the chairs, frowns on their faces. I am looking forward to upcoming trade talks. Peter and I have been visiting Stalport and Rockcliffe in preparation. Keep up the good work. Streamline immigration, relaxed immigration. Alright, let's see. Order? Okay. Nationwide protests quelled. Well, look at that. Relaxed immigration. Okay. It's on the news. Freedom in education choice. The Republic of Kairoot got to say. I allowed for private schools. He knows Dreamer emphasizes neutrality. Okay. Root, maintaining its neutral stance, emphasizes the importance of independent decision-making for the Sorter's nation, advocates for peace, stability, and autonomy in internal affairs. Okay. Neutral. Well, then condemns Arcasian financial aid. Propelling into a trap of neo-colonialist agenda. Voxlin warns against Swordish privatization. Chancellor Enric Hegel has voiced his concern over potential privatization measures being considered in Swordland. The Chancellor, a strong proponent of Volkslandian socialism, cautioned against the dangers of unkept capitalism, citing the risks of increased wealth inequality and social instability. He expressed a desire for Swordland to consider a more equitable approach to economic development, perhaps taking cues from Volksland's own socialist policy. Hegel further stated that Volksland would remain supportive of Swordland as long as the well-being of its people were prioritized. That's nice of Volksland to just keep an eye out for us. Erazun, Glonkala's rality in Swordland, a recent religious blah 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 blah. Unjust and evil government. They clearly haven't been reading the state-controlled news. Central Pact drafts economic recovery proposal. Okay. Okay. Report from the Ministry of Justice. Restructuring the ministry has been completed success after the increase of its budget. A large portion of the budget was transformed specifically to solve the case backlog issues of the lower courts. Additional efforts will be directed at fighting corruption, upholding the integrity of judges, and consolidation of the rule of law. And this will bring back trust in the system with more accessible, efficient courts. I appreciate the lack of spoilers. Private party of the Gentlemen's Club. Far from becoming accustomed to my workload as president, I only felt more and more snowed under as the weeks passed. It has been ages since I had time to myself. I was starting to lose my focus, and my temper was growing increasingly thin. Peter was the first to realize I needed a break. After much cajoling, he finally persuaded me to come to a meeting of his new venture, Gentlemen's Club. For the past few months, he's been hosting a salon of sorts, not just for politicians and businessmen, but also for artists, entertainers, and people with tastes. He told me with a smile on his face. There's only one rule: no wives or girlfriends allowed, hence the name. I also found myself in front of his new luxury villa in Erlory. A very loud jazz music emanated from the inside. I waited and waited. Finally, Peter opened the door. I could smell the whiskey on his breath. Anton, finally! Now the real party can start. Come on in! Alright. As soon as I entered, Peter closed the door and turned to the small crowd. Gentlemen, a minute of your time, please. I have the privilege to present to you the man himself, the fourth president of Swordland, Mr. Anton Rayne. I don't know why I'm giving him this voice. I'd known him for long enough to understand he was more than a little drunk. He made an elaborate mock curtsy as I passed him and walked into the room. The music stopped, and I felt everyone's eyes on me. Good evening. Peter nodded at me and turned to the attendees. Dear members, please give a warm welcome to our very special guest. If I may, Anton, here, take this. Handed me a glass of whiskey and put his hand on my shoulder. Yeah, you suddenly got a mafia voice. We all know why we're gathered here tonight, to celebrate life, to have a brief escape from our tumultuous professions. I personally don't know any better cure for stress than a little drink. Only a little one? A few people in the crowd chuckle and some raise their glasses. Now, the tradition dictates that as the club president, I have to remind you of our house rules. There are 3. No politics, no wives, no one sober. Cheers. Peter drank the whiskey in his glass in one go. I will sip my whiskey. Anton Rayne, I might have the power to make the presidential decrees, but I, Peter Vector, the president of this club, now declare this party started. Music, go! Band started up again. After greeting the crowd around me, I felt a hand on my shoulder. Let me show you around. He walked through the corridors of his mansion. Statues and paintings lined the stark white walls. An arched window provided a view of the neatly manicured grounds, complete with a swimming pool. A grand lesbian marble staircase led up to the second story. Peter gestured at a massive crystal chandelier hanging overhead. That chandelier was made in the 18th century. Can you believe it? There's even a hedge maze in the garden. What's the story behind the chandelier? I don't know, and I don't care. It just looks expensive, and I like it. I'll let you in on a secret. Gus Manger has a lot of contacts in real estate. He brokered an amazing price for me. Oh boy. He'll still be here, by the way. Oh, am I not surprised? What did you promise him in return? Only my money. Continued walking until we circled back to where we had started. Frankly, I find it disgusting. It definitely doesn't rival yours. Anyway, let's get back to the party. I arranged for some caviar to be brought in from Lesbia. You're going to love it. We opened the door to the main hall. We rejoined the other guests. The music was louder now and the mood decidedly more inebriated. Cocktail waitresses were carrying around plates of canapes, wearing dresses that left little to the imagination. So this is what you've been hiding from Evelyn. No one's hiding anything. She knows how important it is for men like us to blow off steam once in a while. He averted his gaze for a second before calling over one of the waitresses. She was in her mid-20s, wearing red lipstick, her blonde hair neatly tied into a ponytail. On her plate were toast points, slathered with lesbian caviar Peter had mentioned. I took a bite. It was rich, salty, tasting of pure seaside. I could almost hear the sound of the waves and seagulls. Lesbian caviar, best in the world. I'm telling you, Anton, there are few pleasures in life that are this. As the waitress left us to serve another entity, she flashed a quick smile at Peter over his shoulder. He smiled back a little too broadly. Sensual. His eyes were still fixed on her, with an expression I remembered from our many nights out together as students. I've had it once. It wasn't bad. Well, look, there's Gus. Why don't you go talk to him? He'll be back in a minute. Peter, I'm warning you, don't make a mistake. Mistake? What are you talking about? I'm just going to do the washroom. See you shortly. He left the room and I head over to Gus. Gus Manger was standing next to a couple of men that I recognized as banking industry magnates. As I approached, all of them turned to me, bowed their heads. Mr. President, a toast to our new member, everyone. Gus and I clinked our glasses as the people around us raised theirs. I heard this mansion is a result of your connections. That's right, I do have a wide network in real estate. Peter told me a couple of weeks ago that you might be interested in potential opportunities such as, well, this. He opened his arm, gesturing at the opulent surroundings. Let's take a walk. The balcony has an amazing view of Ellery. Gus seems to be a little too rich. No cigar for me. Onto the balcony, all of Ellery was at our feet. I was able to see how good about it the big slot was. The swimming pool and the hedge maze were visible from here. It's just got connections, see? Lots of friends and lots of places. Leaning over the railing, I admired the view for a moment before Gus spoke up. I know you're wondering about the deal Peter made. In a nutshell, thanks to my network, he was able to procure this house for half the asking price, which would have been impossible under any other circumstances. That cheap, huh? You must know that the offered price is not suitable for every client. I would have been delighted to work with you, but unfortunately a deal won't be possible at this time. Not from me or my contacts, at least. Why is that? There have been some issues with my business, Mr. Rayne. Nothing life or death, but the hard work I put on cancelled railway really took up so much of my time that I've had to postpone some projects. I'm sure you understand. Politician and businessman. Okay. I understand. He drowned his whiskey. If you'll excuse me now, I will go refresh my drink. See you around. Left to rejoin the party. Alone on the balcony, I looked out over Amway. Suddenly, I heard a rustling at the hedge maze below. I looked down and saw a silhouette, two silhouettes actually, so close together they seemed to be entangled. I squinted and tried to get a better look. It was definitely two people kissing, but I couldn't see either of their faces. I returned to the party and spent some time mingling with the other guests, engaging them in small talk about their businesses, their children, their relationships. I realized it had been a while since Peter left. I looked around, but I couldn't find him. Instead, my eyes landed on Ewald Alfonso. With a smile, the former president walked over to meet me. Mr. Alfonso, I don't know you remember Peter's club. Is it a party like this a little low class for a man like you? You know the rules, no politics. I didn't know you remember Peter's club. I'm not. Gus and I were having a business dinner, and he convinced me to come along afterwards. Saw you speaking to Mr. Manger earlier, just briefly. He seems used to be making deals with sitting presidents, but he and I won't be going into business. Yes, it's always nice to get to know one's ministers outside the Maroon Palace. We had a good chat together back in Narbel, as I recall, resulting in your very wise decision to invest in Sordish money in Gassam. We're seeing growing interest from international investors, by the way. I'm optimistic about the result of Sordlin's investment. Terrific. I'm a lawyer. I'm glad that Sordlin could help your company thrive. And vice versa. Just then, Peter came up from behind and threw an arm around each of our shoulders. Look at you two, Sordlin's bright future and its ancient past. Peter, behave yourself. Yes, Mr. President. Right away, Mr. President. Well, Mr. Alfonso, how have you been enjoying my hospitality? Alfonso smiled politely. Indeed, I have, Mr. Vector. You've put together one hell of a gathering. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to have a quick word with the CEO of Sordish Petroleum. Have fun mingling. It was good to see you. Nice guy. Shitty president, but nice guy. Why didn't you tell me old Alfonso was coming? I didn't know. Gus brought him along, and when a former president of Sordlin knocks on your door, you can't exactly turn him away. You know what? Never mind. Let's get another drink. Next time, I want to be able to vet your guest lists. You're making a breach of national security with these parties. It's fine. I was happy to see him, but it was definitely a surprise. Now, who wants a drink? Besides me, of course. He poured us 2 large glasses of whiskey, and we drank them in one go. Throughout the party, we drank and drank, just like the old times. I woke up the next day with a pounding headache and more than a few regrets. My recollection of the evening were hazy, but there was one important detail that kept coming back to me. The red lipstick on Peter's collar. Ooh. But maybe my memory was playing tricks on me. Okay. Oh, we got some news. BFF poisoned Sordish schools. Governor Felix Bronze. Troubling development in the ongoing fight against the Blutish Freedom Front. It's come to light that the BFF propaganda has been found in schools that teach in Blutish language, indicating a sinister effort to radicalize young people in Bluish majority areas. Governor Braun's swift action in bringing attention to this issue highlights his commitment to protecting the citizens of Bergia from the BFF's harmful influence. Governor Braun also proposed to introduce a ban on Bluish language as a primary education language, towards ensuring national unity and preventing further radicalization. He called the lawmakers to immediately draft a bill that enforces Swordish education to all citizens of Swordland. We believe it is essential that the government takes immediate action to address BFF's recruitment strategies and properly enforce the national language of Swordland. Governor Braun's leadership in this matter is commendable, and we fully support his efforts to safeguard our country's security. That sounds like a terrible idea. Progressive investment in rural development. The government's decision to invest in Gruni, a rural development investment plan, marks a promising step towards revitalizing rural economies. Strengthen food. President Rayne saves the day. According to information we have received, President Rayne has decided that he will veto the Religious Harmony Bill. The bill itself has the words harmony in it. However, malgré, trompez-vous pas par son nom, le loi proposée par Gazaro Kebener essaie de tuer le cœur de la population bludish. Bludo, avec une prohibition de la langue blude, d'être parlée à les événements religieux. Si ce n'était pas pour le président Rayne, cette loi aura passé et chaque blude devrait être content d'avoir un président comme Monsieur Rayne. Ok. Quoi d'autre? À Sarna, on a quelque chose de nouvel. Du agrandissement culturel. Et un rapport. Le gouverneur Félix Braun a des rapports d'avoir découvert le front bludish de liberté, propagande dans les écoles qui apprend en blud. Ceci apporte à l'avant les efforts du BFF de recruter et radicaliser les jeunes peuples bludes, les jeunes dans les régions bludes. Le gouvernement est encouragé de prendre action immédiate pour adresser le recrutement, les stratégies de recrutement du BF et de prévenir plus de radicalisation dans les jeunes. Le gouverneur demande que les législateurs introduisent une barre l'utilisation d'une langue blude comme langue d'éducation et demande que le gouvernement enforce la langue nationale du Swordland sur tout le monde. Those blues. Okay. Back to English. Privatization in education. The new privatization plan of the Ministry of Education is in full swing. The first dozen public schools have transitioned into for-profit organizations already after a public bidding process determined the buyers. Minister of Education Sarah Wald said that only a small percentage of all institutions will be allowed to transition. It is expected the ministry will gather a substantial amount of private funds from the initiative. A lack of further evidence from the investigation into fire that occurred at the Holsworth University archives has caused the case to be suspended until further notice from the police and SID. Recording has been lifted. Okay. Something in Benfi. The opening of the Benfi Festival. Our motorcade slowly made its way towards the magnificent Benfi High Arts Center. Night was falling and the festival was about to begin. I flipped through the brochure that had been given to us at the hotel. Monica's face was featured in the front page. The schedule on the inside still said that Curtin List, mayor of Enrica, would be making the opening remarks. My last minute announcement that my wife would be replacing Curtin must have caused some confusion at the print shop. The Benfi Festival was one of the biggest events of the year. It originally marked the start of the annual religious pilgrimage, a weeks-long journey still undertaken by the devout Nuris. But today it was better known as a cultural celebration that drew thousands of revelers to the city. There were film screenings, concert theater, and dance performances, art exhibitions, and celebrity studied nightly galas. The opening ceremonies were broadcast on TV and watched by millions. As the car slows, a coterie of reporters and security guards rushed to meet us. I turned my attention to Monica. She nervously eyed the waiting crowd. Don't worry, you're going to be fine. She gave me a smile, looking somewhat comforted. Thanks, Anton. I appreciate it. As soon as Serge opened the door, we were enveloped by the roar of the crowd. The next few minutes were a blur of handshakes, photos, and reporters' questions. The onlookers cheered as we walked the red carpet to the newly built arts center. We followed the guards through the cavernous white halls until we came to a set of arched doors leading to the auditorium. We waited outside as security did a quick sweep of the area, then headed in. So this is it. I will finally stand on the same platform as you. A platform where Sordland's women will have their voices heard and acknowledged for the first time. Break a leg. The two of us proceeded to the podium. I spoke first, delivering a short paragraph about the importance of Benfi and the festival to Sordland. I then introduced Monica. A thunderous applause echoed around the auditorium as she stepped to the microphone. I exited stage and found my seat right next to Curtin Lesti. Ladies and gentlemen, as First Lady of Sordland, I welcome all of you to the Benfi Festival. The crowd erupted again, clapping and cheering. Curtin Leston leaned over and hissed into my ear, Mr. President, I am afraid you have made a great mistake. There will be consequences. What kind of consequences? Your little stunt has lost you my support in the assembly. I kept my eyes on the stage. When the applause subsided, Monica resumed her speech. This festival holds a very important place in all of our hearts. It is a celebration of art, music, theater, but of all, it is a celebration of the people of Benfi and their free and open-minded spirit. As we all unite for the festivities, we must not forget the values that have inspired them. Today marks the beginning of the Week of the Spirit, a time for vitality, growth, and new beginnings. The crowd was hanging on her every word, but the mayor of Enrica and his entourage didn't seem impressed. I stand on this podium today to speak about change, about a new beginning for our society. Sordland calls itself a free country, yet half of our citizens are still barred from enjoying the same freedoms that the other half takes for granted. I refer to myself and my fellow women. Elmo went through the clouds, scattered applause mixed with murmurs of discontent. To truly move forward, we must make a break from old traditions and strive towards equality for all. Equal rates, equal pay, equal access to education. Enough, said Curtin Lesti. This is an outrageous statement. The entire hall fell silent. The mayor of Enrica rose and spoke. I will not let this woman besmirch the traditions upon which our great country was built. Watch the events unfold. I sat down and watched the events unfold. Curtin turned towards the audience, speaking loudly enough to be heard without a microphone. Mr. Rayne, what right do you possibly have to pass judgment on our values? Mrs. Rayne, sorry. As a Swedish citizens, you are not a politician, you are not a speaker. You are merely a woman who's lucky enough to be married to the president. Your place is not at this podium, it is at home, tending to your husband and children. I didn't abandon her. I trusted her to be able to speak for herself. Monica froze completely. The crowd grew. I had to do something. I walked up to the stage and stood beside my wife at the podium. The family in the front row. Mr. Leslie, do I have to teach you basic manners? Have you forgotten what you learned in kindergarten? Mr. Leslie, do I have to teach you basic manners? Have you forgotten what you learned in kindergarten? The crowd erupted in laughter. Curtin's face turned red. I will not stand idly by as our Swedish values are being tested, especially by our very own president and his harlot of a wife. Whoa. Is rudeness a Swordfish value now? Impropriety? I'm only going to do what I feel is right to protect my country. You feel it is right to berate a woman, the president's wife, at that? Or Swordland does not need your protection. I think it's better to shame him. Her ideas are dangerous, Anton. They'll lead us down a dark path. Your ideas, on the other side, will lead us back to the Dark Ages. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. The only thing is certain is that you won't garner sympathy by making a scene. Your ideas, on the other hand, will lead us back to the Dark Ages. Without our traditions, we are lost. And without change, we are fossils. Now please sit down. Without change, we are fossils. Now please sit down. The crowd was booing Carton loudly now. He looked around the room and let out a deep sigh. My apologies, Mr. President, Miss First Lady, I crossed the line. Monica had regained her composure, but now she took her place at the microphone. A heartfelt apologies to you as well, Mr. Leste. I assure you my intention was not to offend anyone, especially a senior member of the Assembly such as yourself, who has pledged his life to the betterment of our country. Curtin smiled faintly. Monica turned to the audience. I hope one day we shall be able to set aside our differences, as we have done today, and walk towards a happier, brighter future for all of Swordland's citizens, male and female alike. We must all remember the future cannot exist without the past. And I believe we're witnessing the meeting of our glorious past and our bright future right here in Benthi today. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to officially open the Benthi Festival. Morgana Westcor. Vector and Sizda, everyone in the hall, including Curtin, finished the decades-old saying. The crowd erupted in cheers. Even Curtin started clapping. People started chanting Monica's name, and the band broke into the official festival anthem. See, that went very well. But I knew Curtin would never forget what happened today. Alright, something in Lockhaven. Read the report. Calm returns to Nargis. Protests and occasional looting in the past weeks have ceased to occur in the regions of Nargis, particularly in the city of Lockhaven. Lockhaven police force has reported that the situation is now under control, despite several small protests still ongoing across the region. Refugees reports from a reporter that the Wezek city of Varen shows that there are about 1,000 people running away from Wezek military forces towards the Swordis border. Increased business and trade. Decreasing homelessness. Governor Bergia reports hundreds of BFF collaborators. Suspects that hundreds of Bluish Freedom Front collaborators are living inside Dare. To counter this threat, the governor has proposed a series of measures, including increased surveillance and intelligence gathering, as well as deployment of additional security forces to the area. Vested upon him as the governor of the Special Zone, some of these measures can be implemented by the governor in Sibergia without the approval of the central government. The governor has also suggested that community members be encouraged to report any suspicious activities or individuals, and that the government offer incentives for information leading to the capture of BFF members. Raised concerns about potential violations of civil liberties, and it is recovered that the government follow the actions of the governor closely to ensure that he does not violate his authority as the governor of the Special Zone. Yeah. The governor of Bergia seems like a real troublemaker. Gruni returns to normal life. This week, with the actions of the government and the police, the protests of the Gruni region come to an end, which has paralyzed the economy and left several people dead. One protester later from Volgan said, "We want peace and unity. Nobody wants to see riots or violence. We are fed up with the police brutality." And best friends forever collaborators willing deploying special forces to Varanen. Well, in his increased efforts fighting terrorism, yada yada yada. Okay, gone out of holes for downtown at home. Felt like an eternity since the Benfi festival. Had it really only been less than 24 hours? I was at home now, drinking an afternoon coffee on my balcony. A stack of newspapers lay by my side. I picked them up one by one, reading and rereading the articles about the festival. Some of the papers came out in full support of the First Lady for her brave speech. Others took Curtin's side. Nearly all of them agreed that the First Lady had acquitted herself very well following the interruption. I was putting the last newspaper down as she joined me on the balcony. Listen, can we talk for a bit? Of course, what is it? Sat and picked up the nearest newspaper. She pointed a particularly insulting headline on the front page. I never in a million years would have wished for this, Anton. I just wanted to thank you for supporting me and apologize for creating such a spectacle. All I wanted was to bring the people of Swordland together, the way you're able to, but not like this. Her eyes were getting moist, a single tear fell onto the newsprint. Wiped her tears away. I leaned forward and wiped the tears from her eyes. She clasped my hand to her face. Oh, Anton. Her eyes were filled with great gratitude. I could see she'd slept as little as I had since the festival. Thank you. One more thing. You know how stubborn I am. When I gave that speech, I saw hope in the eyes of all the women in the audience. This is the right path for me, Anton. I want to officially adopt this cause as First Lady, to actually get involved in politics, not just give impromptu speeches. I could even help your education minister with these reforms she's working on. I know this is something you're passionate about as well. Can I count on you? Of course, my love. I'm looking forward to working closer together. Oh, Anton, this means so much to me. Thank you. Without continuing, we turn our heads to see Dina standing there. Mama, I'm hungry. Let's go to the kitchen, baby. We'll make Papa the best snack ever. Yay! They left the balcony, returned half an hour later. The large cookie. Dina had written my name and icing on it. As I sipped my coffee and nibbled the cookie, I thought that I had made the right choice. Things were going to get harder, but at least my life at home was somewhat peaceful. Okay. Ooh, news. Let's read the news. So I see Wellen as being like maybe a Kosovo stand-in kind of situation. Well, with there being well, maybe not Kosovo, but yeah, maybe not Iraq. I don't know. It's hard to say. Or Syria. You know, with the Kurds straddling the border between Turkey and Syria. But it did make me think of Kosovo, with Kosovars living in Yugoslavia and in Albania, and you know how there were. Yes, there is there as well. You know, Kosovars going between both regions. Economic report. The Ministry of Statistics, along with the Ministry of Economy, declared a preliminary economic status report detailing the recession is deepening and the financial system is headed towards a potential collapse if we don't take serious action. Minister Hull said the situation was dangerous. But the economy says unstable, not dangerous. Look. Oh, Arcasian air access. Asian access to LRE base. Preparations for began early. Air Force Base to expand their hangars and restructure the security of Air Force in order to welcome Arcasian planes in the short future. Arcasian security and logistics professionals has already been welcomed at the base to work with Swedish officials. Yeah, we just gotta let it cook. You know? Long and slow. Eventually this will turn right around and go shooting up. Budget allocation of the Swedish Armed Forces. Determine the current situation of the military and its spending policy. We held a meeting at the White Room. Peter Vulcan and Yosef were seated. General Vulcan, Mr. Lancy, let's start the briefing. Very well, Mr. President. We have prepared a briefing to convey further details about the current situation of our military. First off, we have received an updated communication from the Arcasian military command. The planes are being moved into Ellery Air Base as we speak, under our supervision, of course. Good. Make sure you keep an eye on them. Of course, Mr. President. Now let's move on to our military. Which branch would you like to know about? What is the situation of our army? According to the latest reports, Camp Strongarm, currently we field 6 armies totaling up to approximately 400,000 active troops, which is a good amount. The real issue we are having is the quality, not the quantity. What is the current equipment status? Our army is quite outdated by today's military standards. Most of our equipment is 2 decades old. To make up for our lack of modern military equipment, we resort to a large number of soldiers, which is not really a long-term solution. I've been trying hard to reduce the negative effect of this problem. We don't need a modernization program. A standardized purchase of lacking equipment would do. And more funding towards expanding the military size, otherwise our army will be seen as weak. How do we compare to other armies? Rumburg fields about 6 armies amounting to 1 million soldiers. Lesbia fields 5 armies, which amount to 800,000. Logsland fields 1 army of about 140,000 soldiers. Welland fields an army amounting to 100,000 soldiers, and Magnolia fields 2 armies with a total of about 200,000 soldiers. The sheer size of Rumburg's army is because of their forced conscription laws. They are able to afford such a large force due to their massive gold reserves, which significantly came from Rizia over the past decades. On the other hand, the Lesbian army is the most advanced, followed by Vlogslandian army. Both of these countries puts a lot of money in modernizing their military. Where exactly is our military deployed right now? Stationed at the Lesbian Welland borders to protect the way into the central regions of Swordland. Second Army, our largest force, has been situated at the Rumburg border. It is a large mountain commando force and is the most adequately equipped army to face Rumburg. Third Army is near the Agnolian border and the coastal arms facing Logsland. Due to our bitter past, our coastal defense force is always on alert. The estimation of our fleet is still not forgotten. I'm curious about another branch. Can you provide the details on our Air Force? Our Air Force currently has 410 planes in the inventory, out of which only 140 are jet planes that are not in great condition. 30,000 pilots and support staff work in the air forces. They are commanded by the Mark Air Force Base in LRA. What are our operational capabilities? Our planes can bomb targets within 400 kilometer radius of the airfield. They have a medium range and semi-effective nighttime bombing capabilities. At any time, we can field 7 air wings composing of 130 aircraft that can operate in combat duty. This is enough to subdue most targets. In terms of our bombing capability, we have an average 100 meters of precision. This is not great, but it is still within the effective radius of the bombs. How experienced are our pilots? Our pilots have average experience. They have a total of 450 flight time with their craft before they are qualified. That gives them more than enough time to get used to it. This is low compared to 1,000 and 1,500 hours in other countries like Arcasia, United Cartel Lesbia, and even Volksland. Normally the hours per pilot should be higher, but due to the lack of funding, we can't increase the training times. Fuel costs are rather high. How does our Air Force work with the other branches? The Air Force is trained as an independent tactical support branch, which means it assists the other branches but doesn't collaborate. Miscellaneous air support opportunities. There are ways to improve collaboration with joint operations rooms, something to think about surely. Let's talk about the Navy. Our Navy currently constitutes 59 vessels with a total of 60,000 sailors and support staff. As you know, these ships are commanded from our main naval base, Conriat, where our flagship SN Renan is docked. How does our Navy compare to the others? Our Navy is dwarfed by the size of the Vogslandian Navy, which has 194 ships, and the Agnolian Navy that has 81 ships. We only surpassed Lesbia in terms of our navy, and they have less than 30 ships. As you see, the situation is dire, but the solution is not just more ships. To make a truly better navy, we need to equip our ships with modern radar and sonar systems. More outdated ships wouldn't mean much. Which seas does our navy patrol? We're controlling the Marquian Sea, the Grey Strait, and the Antakian Sea. The navy protects all of our coastal regions. However, to make sure we are not thinning out our defense, we prioritize certain regions over others, like Greater Holsford. We often patrol the routes that are close to the shipping lanes, especially the Marquian Sea and Grey Strait. Another thing to note is another takeover Hellion. Our navy has led incursion operations to protect Agnolia. We also take the time in some joint drill. Our capabilities and power projection. The truth is, we are limited to our near region due to the size and technological level of our naval ship. If we had modern support vessels, we could participate in international operations. That's right. Still holds some power, though if needed be, we could block the trade of the Marquian Sea. To make up for our weakness, allying ourselves to a naval power could also help protect our seas. Actually, let's move on. Military is important, but it's not a priority right now. I'd be willing to support the military in other ways. We could come to an agreement. We request any support that we can get at this point. The military circle has been moody after they heard the decision. We expected more. Let's take a look at what we can do with what we have. I've been planning to improve the quality of the armed forces by buying better military equipment. It won't be. There is one way. If we relieve half the forces that could create enough of a surplus, then we could invest in new equipment. We're barely matching the size of half our neighbors, while the other half of our army is 2 times bigger than ours. How on earth would discharging half the armed forces and buying new gear solve our defense issues? Well, raises a valid question. Quality over quantity is the right strategy for the future of warfare. Having a large force doesn't necessitate superiority. Reduce size and buy better equipment with surplus. Let's reform the army and create a smaller, better equipped force. I'm tempted to do this, but it also seems like a bad idea. Good work, everyone. Republic of Agnolia. Republic of Welland. Acasian Treaty. Ato embraces a new paradigm. PNCs legitimize. Ito is extended official recognition and legitimacy not only to Cerebus International and Palantor security solutions, but to all private military companies. Okay. I gave them money, just not more money. Eastern energy sector draws foreign investors. Okay. Ronsburg is clearly bluffing and won't do anything. Death of former Black Battalion Brigadier General. What's going on in Narble? In contrast to dance housing news from other locations, Gaslam's Narble branch has revealed plans for expansion. Viewed as a promising sign that the company's resilience is expected to stimulate Narble's local economy and create new job opportunities. Energy giant in its recovery journey. Look, stable economy. Boom, look at that go. It's an economic miracle. The H3 highway running from Lacoven to Arvory is mostly complete, with final preparations being made for the opening. Regrettably, there have been some issues around the workers' rights laws with Taurus Holding. Nonetheless, the project will be completed on time thanks to the administration's decisive actions. About to be connected to the country's biggest port in Lacoven. With a large highway, people in the region are expected to have better access to job, welfare, and other services. Will also improve trade links. Foreign energy investment surge. In the wake of the recent modifications to the Energy Protection Act, Lacoven has seen an uptake in foreign energy investments. The softened foreign ownership rules have catalyzed the entry of overseas capital. Infusing new energy into the local industry, the surge in foreign investment is a positive sign for Lacoven's energy sector and its economic future. Perfect. Protests against Governor Braun's security forces. An exceptionally large protest has taken place in Suzerain. There's in Bergia. Okay, this freaking governor in Bergia. Foreign energy investment flows into Ribble. Okay. Growing international confidence in the region's energy sector. Okay, very good. What's going on in Volgan? Stagnation marks Gruni's regional growth. Flatlining as there is concerned over Gruni's economic resilience and even educational reforms. The Ministry of Education is reporting that the massive overhaul of the education system is progressing very well. All schools in Sutherland will collaborate in the reduction of hours taught in citizenship, Stalinism, and nationalism subjects. Significant efforts are being made to lessen the political indoctrination in education. Other changes are also happening in the curriculum. Pedagogical improvements like improved teacher-student relations and emphasis on critical thinking development have begun all across the entire country. For solid progress on many fronts, with a few schools delaying transformation on political grounds. Republic of Agnolia. Trade talks with the Prime Minister of Agnolia. Swordland 1. Swordland 1's flight from Holsford to Stalport took 3 hours, but went very smoothly. We were about to touch down. David left his seat and came over while Simon was enjoying his newspaper. Looks like we're about to land, Mr. President. I looked outside. I could see Highland, the island between Vogsland and Agnolia. So many conflicts over such a small piece of land. The island can really sustain itself without outside help. I know I was just thinking the same thing. I would do anything to protect the motherland. Thousands of people died fighting for it. I wonder if it was worth it. I suspect it will be one of the topics that Mr. Van Horten will bring up as a bargaining chip. We must be careful. It might be under the control of Agnolia, but the international community has yet to recognize it for good reason too. Nobody wants to make an enemy of Vogsland, especially because of the support of United Cartana and the CSP. Cortana Security Part. We don't care who we're up against. We will cross that bridge when we come to it. We should try to look at the bigger picture. Aside from one point of Highland, we need to be careful with the additional requests. According to the deal that was negotiated so far, they want to sell us their steel for a higher price, and they are requesting easier access to our agricultural market. In return, they are promising cash flow and investments, especially in the Agnon region. It's not hard to guess why. Precisely, Agnolian immigrants in our Anglon region make up a good chunk of the area's economy now. During the initial negotiations, they brought up the topic of immigration many times. The fact that we have relaxed our immigration laws will help tremendously. Let's see if we can shake hands on it. Descent started. I could see Stallport, the capital of Agnolia. The voyage dockyards and the city's canals. Stall in Agnolian appeared closer to our descent continued. Stallport was certainly a fitting name. A couple of minutes later, we finally touched down. The plane parked. I looked at the final end of the window. The welcoming ceremony of Agnolia was waiting along the red carpet outside. After the guards made their way out, I exited the plane. Wave at the crowd. Okay, I started to make my way downstairs. Prime Minister Van Horten was nowhere in sight. Instead, I was greeted by the Foreign Minister. After handshakes and a couple of photos, I moved to the car where Serge was waiting to drive me to the office of the Prime Minister. Good day, sir. I hope the flight was comfortable. Yes, it was. Thank you, Serge. Got the car, made our way towards the foreign street. Our convoy was protected by Swordish and Agnolian guards in their vehicles. We got on the highway beside the port and saw dozens of dockyards, blah 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 blah. The city itself looked very grey and grim. The building had a touch of Runeberg's famous monarchian architecture with a mixture of Swordish signature domes and on the older ones. We were now on the main road to the office of the Prime Minister. Looks like they're not too happy to see you, sir. Sarge pointed out the crowd that gathered on both sides of the street. It was a protest. They were shouting and yelling at our convoy. Some of them held signs written in Swordish. Swordland must pay its debts to Agnolia. You know, I never knew Agnolians were so ungrateful. Not everyone sees a great leader like you every day. Everyone's... So humility is important, but not in this case. They are always scared of Swordland's potential, and now they are afraid that a lion leads Swordland. They are afraid of you. We have arrived, sir. The car continued through the gates while the security vehicles went the other way. For the door. I've been walking towards the door where dozens of press and the Prime Minister were waiting for me. I saw the PM much more clearly as I neared the door. He was shorter than I thought. Mr. President, welcome to Agnolia and to the beautiful city of Stallport. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. It is great to be here. Shake hands and hug after. Shake hands and hug after. We took outward hug, which was received well by the Prime Minister. The press went wild and took more pictures. He gestured to the entrance of a 200-year-old Parliament building. This way, please. I'd like to present you with a gift as a sign of friendship between our countries. Showed us immediately with a large glass case. Contain a single sheet of parchment inside. This here is one of the first treaties written between Swordland and Agnolia, just like the one you prepared with Mr. Whiskey before my term. May it mark the renewal of our friendship today as well. This is an amazing gift, thank you. Our photos were taken again. I gestured to one of my retainers who was holding our gift to the PM. Gift one of the original copies of the first Constitution. Gift a Swordish-bred puppy, despite Martin's known fear of dogs. That's a very Putin move. Gifted an ornamental ceremonial sword made with Swordish steel. There's a right answer here, by the way. Well, he gave us a piece of paper. Maybe we give him a first piece of paper? That's true. They want to sell us their steel. Yeah, let's give them a piece of paper as well. Paper for paper. Ah, an excellent copy. I've always wondered what one of the originals looked like. Thank you for this excellent gift. Let's go to my office. Follow me. I followed him, and we entered the office of the Prime Minister. With its minimalist wooden decor, the room was far more modest than I expected. We sat down, he leaned back and made himself comfortable. Sheesh, I am thankful to be done with the ceremonies. Yes, it would. Not a message I'm trying to communicate. Are you not fond of these ceremonies? I was just about to say the same. I'm not fond of these either. It's one of the tougher parts of our job. He got up from his chair and moved over to the bar. There were many varieties of liquor. Would you like a drink, Mr. Rayne? I wouldn't mind some Magnolia and vodka. Ah, you know your drink. He poured the drinks and gave mine to me before sitting down again. What was with that protest? Can't you control them? A true gentleman, I can respect that about you, Mr. Horton. This is how we do things in Magnolia, Mr. Rayne. I appreciate the kind word, but flattery alone won't sway me this day. First of all, I would like to say that I've been watching your recent immigration policy changes. I'm glad that you have decided to keep it relaxed. Immigrants are very important for beneficial economic development. We believe that very much in Agnolia. It is reassuring to see Swordland move in a more modern direction. Thank you. So tell me, Mr. Rayne, is Swordland a reliable trading partner to Agnolia? As long as Agnolia is a reliable trading partner. I can assure you we are. He paused for a moment. It was a good move to start building that highway. Overall, this will positively affect our trade. Well done, Mr. Rayne. Thank you. You are very kind. Are we going to talk all day about past deeds, or are we going to sign this deal? Let's change the course of our nation. If we shake hands on it, this agreement is going to be extremely beneficial for both of us. You should be able to solve your recession in no time with the investment and money flow coming from us. This is, as you know, on top of the reduced tariffs for trade between our countries. Of course, in return, as discussed between my people and your people before, you will allow us privileged access to your agricultural market. You will be buying steel from us at a higher price, which is a small price to pay, really. That is the deal. What do you say, Mr. Rayne? I accept. -1 government budget. Let's make trade deals. I accept. Before we dive into the paperwork for the trade deal, I want to offer you another possibility. I would like to expand our new partnership. We have regional forces like Rumberg that have been imposing danger on both our countries. I am of a mind that we must unite, so, by the powers bestowed on me as the Prime Minister of Agnolia, I am offering a military alliance between Swordland and Agnolia. What do you think? Wait, says Kaladin. Read about the country first. Yeah, it would create tension over the island. Swordland is not ready to go that far with Agnolia. Or do we accept? I didn't murder my army. I mean, Vogsland are just a bunch of nerds. How much trouble could they truly give us? Very well, I accept. But then what if Vogsland gets all shitty about Heliport? I want to accept, so I will accept. Now that we have gone this far and we are willing to enter an alliance, there's another topic I would like to bring up. As you know, Hayland has been long contested between Magnolia and Vogsland. Those warmongers want to take the island back. You know how the international community does not recognize our rightful claim to the island, including Swordland. What better act to cement our alliance than announcing to the world that Swordland recognizes Halion to be Agnolian territory? Another sensible deal. I accept again. You're asking too much. It is a reasonable request, but I won't push too far on the matter. We have achieved enough for today. Well then. Sit up from his chair. We must continue the official program. As you know, we will pay a visit to our founder's grave for another ceremony. Afterwards, we will move on to the state dinner. After you. As soon as we left the office, I briefed Simon on the outcome of the meeting. The rest of our state trip was full of fake smiles, handshakes, incredibly long ceremonies, and even longer meetings between our ministers and their counterparts. Oh, really? Okay. Joint military exercises. I didn't have to lose money. Oh well. Successful signing of a comprehensive trade deal. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Trade initiative. Magnolia. Belgian police ambushed by young militants. Right, let's read the news. Swordland and Magnolia enter an alliance. Apart from the military alliance, Swordland will open its agricultural market to Magnolia. A new trade agreement. The deal will see an increase in trade volume between the two countries, particularly in Agnolian steel. Blow to national pride. Second Contanin satellite in space. Yeah, I've noticed that too. It's kind of hard to know which way you're supposed to go. Catalyst for economic growth. We should try to rein it in, yeah. Government backs rural development. Okay. First Lady's opening speech was interrupted by President has interjected in the developing situation, saved the day by calming the attendees. Okay. Massive protests against Governor Braun. Yeah. He's doing his usual stuff of stirring up the balloons. Van Horton is playing with fire. Yesterday morning, blah, blah, blah. Okay. New alliance in Eastern Maricopa. And more importantly, military deterrent against the foes of the two countries. This is especially important between the heightened tensions in between Agnolia and Valogslin. Enrolled energy into Gassum. Atos stability walked by Kinal's potential departure. Evolutions. Okay. Republic of Welland. Trade talks with the president of Welland. Sword One's flight from Holsford to Rocklawitz took approximately 5 hours. Despite heavily turbulence, I managed to sleep a little. Simon, David, and I landed at the international imports of Welland. Our plane landed, the door opened, the sun blinded me for a moment. I stepped outside. Saw soldiers lined on either side of a red carpet. There must have been at least 100 of them. A marching band started playing, and the soldiers immediately saluted. Proceed to the red carpet without any gestures. Walked downstairs and proceeded without any gestures. At the bottom of the stairs, Victor Smolak was waiting for me. Next to a military jeep with a few soldiers by his side, there were a few reporters at the edge of the crowd, waiting with their cameras. Victor Smolak, almost as tall as me, he was wearing a large sunglasses and a regular suit, contrasting with the military attire of everyone else in the field. Mr. President, welcome to Rocklitz. He immediately motioned for an embrace. We hugged, and many cameras went off at the same time. He turned around for a couple additional poses. Nice to see you, Mr. President. Now the pleasantries are done. Let's go. We will take the jeep for a tour. With another tune from the marching band, we boarded the military jeep. He sat in the driver's seat, and I sat next to him. As we started speeding up, the soldiers saluted again. Victor saluted back. Do nothing. Both of our security details started following us immediately, along with a team of reporters. We'll first go to the city center to see the unveiling of a statue. Whose statue? Mine, of course. Kept making small talk about the flight and the weather as we made our way towards the city center. On almost every corner, there were reporters taking photos of us. Aside from them, though, the streets seemed completely empty. It's like getting North Korea vibes here. Is Rocklitz always this empty? I had this part of the city closed down because of your visit, so that you could enjoy the city in peace. He does look a little Saddam Hussein-y. There we are. We arrived at the center, in a large plaza. There was a covered statue. Large crowds of people were gathered behind fences, waving Swordland and Welland flags. Victor waved back at them. It may or may not be Saddam. Many people have been very supportive of this visit, Mr. President. I'm sure you are delighted to see them. A man came closer to the fences and started yelling at Victor. With my limited knowledge of the Wezek language, I understood the words Victor and murderer. Almost instantaneously, 2 soldiers came up from behind the man and he was taken away. Thankfully, the sun is out. Today will be a good day for the reveal. What will happen to the man who is protesting you? Oh, which man? That one in the crowd? Don't worry about the details. He must have been a troubled fellow. Let's focus on the event. We took our places in front of the statue. With a drum roll, the statue of Victor was revealed. He was a fairly good likeness, albeit more muscular than the real Victor. He was wearing a cloak and holding a sword in his hand. Excellent statue, very lifelike. What do you think? Our artist can do better in Swordland. Mr. Spolak, I don't have time for these games. Let's get straight to the business. Oh, yes, it's very good, very lifelike. I'm glad you appreciate the art behind it. Join me for a walk. I followed him through the streets. At every corner, more and more photos were taken. We stopped in front of a pastry vendor on the street. Give me 2 strudels. The man behind the hand smiled and gave us 2 strudels. Wait for him to pay the street vendor. When he paid the street vendor, he simply took the 2 strudels and didn't pay anything. Pay the street vendor. I put my hand on the wallet and brought up some money to give to the vendor. Hold up, your money doesn't count here. I got this. He handed the money to the street vendor with a huge smile on his face. The candles flashed again. Afterwards, we walked a short distance to the palace. Passing the gates, we made our way into the main building, made from ivory-colored stones. The old guard towers flanked the magnificent structure from both sides. Inside of the palace was a very spacious, with very large chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. Grand staircases made from the same ivory stone had red carpets on them. On the upper levels, guards stood wearing the traditional outfits of the old Wesna kingdom. When we finally reached the office of the President of Welland, the door closed behind us. I looked around at the golden ornaments on the walls and the various jewel-encrusted artifacts. As it was customary in Welland, we sat down on the carpet. Now, we can talk about our trade deal. Nod. I nodded. But before that, oh boy. Bring the Keisha. A few assistants immediately entered the room carrying a large ornamental Keisha, a well-known smart milking instrument originating from Welland. They immediately lit up and the room was filled with the smell of tobacco. Victor inhaled the smoke and handed me the Keisha. It's a hookah, yes. I don't smoke. Your loss is the finest tobacco in the land. He took another puff, filling the room with more smoke. So, Mr. President. Bah, that's too long. Can I call you Anton? Sure. Anton, tell me, what do you really think about Rumberg? The barking bog doesn't bite. They are a threat to the region. They can go to hell. Not much in particular, like any other country. They have their needs and their own agenda. They are a threat to the region. I agree with your sentiments, Anton. They are a threat to everyone in the region. I assure you their time will come. Regardless, I would rather prevent further conflict in the region. You know as well as I do, Anton, they are coming together. They are coming whether we like it or not. They are the aggressor, not us. And now I need to solve some problems they are creating for me. I'm listening. He clapped his hands again. 2 assistants came into the room with a map of the border regions between Welland and Sorling. He pointed at the border. Look. Bloods and their so-called BFF are causing problems for me in this region. They are getting increasingly dangerous with Rumberg's active support. I know that they are a problem for you as well. I will not allow these traitors to exist within my borders, so I will hit them with all the might of Welland. These terrorists must be destroyed. I will cut all of their supplies from Rumberg and trap them on the mountains. Oh, yeah, I think you're right, Calvin. I'm definitely getting Iraq vibes here. I call it Operation Bear Trap. I don't support any military action this close to our borders. Back on the large pillows behind him. Here's the deal. I will give you objectively the best trade deal in the region. You will give me your assistance crushing the terrorists on both sides, both of our borders. I need specifics. Absolutely not. I won't meddle in Welland's military interventions. Sure. My spies have infiltrated BFS cells and they found caches of KA-74s. We traced them back to Rumberg. This alone justifies my retaliation to protect my country. Worst of all, we also found that similar shipments are going to Swordland. Romberg is trying to unite BFF forces in both of our countries. However, the main problem is the border security between our nations. BFF militants have been using the mountains between Swordland and Welland to escape justice in both of our countries. If we don't act to trap them in those mountains, they will keep replenishing their forces in both of our countries and keep waging war against our citizens. Yes, Anton, you see, this is not just Welland's problem. Let's take a step back and talk about how you will get what you will get in return. I propose you a no tariff agreement, co-investment projects, and oil. In return, you will assist me in destroying the armed militants in my country. You know that as long as they use the mountains and Welland as a base, Swordland and Lesbia will equally suffer. This is in the interest of the whole region. What kind of support do you need from me? Can't Welland handle it by itself? We can, but these vermin are good at handing. As I told you, they operate and keep reorganizing inside both our countries. What I want from you in return for all the money and the resources is only a joint operation. It's only a joint operation between our armies against the BFF. Took a moment to think about it. Deal. No deal. It's too risky. Cold-plated consciences? Yeah. I mean, could be a way to fund the military. Let's negotiate Swordland's contributions in this operation. You're a tough one, Anton. Normally I wouldn't offer anything else, but I like you. Here's my final offer. When the operation starts, with or without you, there will be stragglers trying to cross into Swordland. We just want you to support the operation, even if you do not join. Stop the terrorists from fleeing into your country, and you will have your deal. Simple, isn't it? We just want you to support the operation, even if you do not join. Stop the terrorists from fleeing into your country, and you will have your deal. Simple, isn't it? So, what do you think? Close the border with Welland? Close the border and watch them die. Kind of sounds like this would exchange lots of money. Yeah, I don't think we need this trade deal. Well, my concern is, if we do this, suddenly all our bloods in Bergia lose their shit. And they're already becoming restive. But lots of money. No, this isn't the way I want to do this. No deal. I'm afraid I can't accept. That's unfortunate. I thought we could be friends. But you decided to leave Welland to fend for itself. Such a shame. I'm sure such a powerful leader like Saul would have accepted this great offer without a doubt. My assistants will show you today the way. Goodbye, Rayne. Take care of yourself, Victor. I returned to Swordland immediately. I felt relieved to be back in Holsford. Oh, there's no news report about that. Yeah, Saul definitely would have. Ado brokers for peace amidst Rizian claims. Lesbia mediates. This is territorial claims over blah blah. Okay. Could have allied with Welland too, yeah. Now with the PMC ban. Speech of the President on the Reforms. Grand National Assembly of Swordland, Holsford. Alright. Came to the Grand National Assembly of Swordland to deliver a speech regarding the new constitution and ask for support of the Assembly before the upcoming vote. I walked quickly through the quarters, giving my greetings to people on the way to the Parliamentary Hall. There was a heavy argument about a proposal made by an MP from LP. Rector Minister Gloria was shouting from her seat at the center of the hall as she hit the gavel 3 times, with each strike heavier than one before. Order! Order! Suxaro Kibner, standing up from his seat and shouting towards a member of PFPJP, Mr. Kibner, call yourself, show respect to the procedures of this assembly. Despite her efforts, the argument continued for a couple of minutes before everybody took back their seats and finally went quiet. Mr. Kibner, next time when I tell you to do so, either take your seat or leave the hall so we can proceed with the procedures of this assembly and continue our duties. Some MPs from the NFP side shouted back at her in protest. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, and if you allow me to continue, we have the president here with us today. He has asked to give an important announcement. You have the floor, Mr. President. I walked to the stand as loud clapping started from the USP side. The ladies and gentlemen are honorable members of the assembly, brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, I'm here today to raise the important question regarding our outdated constitution. Well, our constitution doesn't adequately define or respect the separations of power. Between the branches, in order to strengthen our democracy, we must be brave enough to point out the faults of our constitution. Therefore, we propose a change to the constitution to prepare Swordland for a more democratic order. We must finally rewrite the constitution of Sol and break our chains of the past. I call everyone to stand by us to make historic changes to our constitution and bring it to the standards of today's world. Let's go with number 3. We will break the Supreme Court's authority over constitutional changes. We will rebalance the branches of government and ensure a more democratic process. On unity. It is more important than ever that we stand united as a nation in these changing times. I call everybody to be part of the change our people have been calling for. We all want to make Swordland better, don't we? Let's embrace democracy and unite under the banner of people, and surely Swordland will be great again. Let's embrace the future. Mr. President, with all due respect, I believe Swordland is already democratic. We both know that our constitution is flawed. However, USB will see that the president is acting rash by allying with the opposition to destroy the culture of Swordlandism that established Swordland. This was the extent of my quick note. Thank you. The president has the floor. We're not here to destroy Swordlandism nor our cultural values. Being denial, that was a disrespectful speaker. Jeez, I don't try to sabotage my speech. Who are you trying to provoke, Miss Tori? USB is behind me. Shoot the speaker. We, 2 It's time to make a new constitution. Everybody's supporting the upcoming vote. With a new era for Sorkland. Join us and let's write the future together. Finish with a poem. There's a destiny above destiny. Is a victory growing with every morning? There is God beyond existence or non-existence. There are songs to be sung in affection of our victories. Do not dare to surrender. There is a victory that grows. On the next morning, there is a victory waiting to be won. Assembly roared with all kinds of different reactions. Okay. The president must have lost his mind to cooperate with the likes of you. The puppets of Western interest. Order! Madam Speaker, I know you're in agreement with me as well. Don't stand idly by there while this administration is making deals with snakes and undermine the integrity. Order! Mr. Kivner, how many times do I need to say you're speaking out of... I demand to speak. Gloria gave him a stare. She looked annoyed. Very well, Mr. Kivner, go ahead. Mr. President. He looked directly at me. The nationalist movement does not agree with your priorities, nor the way you're trying to implement them. The National Front Party will not stand with you on your new constitution. Let it be known that NFE's concerns are not included in the so-called democratic reforms, thus Mr. President has no right to claim them as such. We will stand our ground against any attempt to bring down our established political culture and national values. Thank you. Asked to speak? Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Kibbener. I think more of a Canadian. It's you who shouldn't use the word democratic when you want a more centralized government. We're not specifically cooperating with someone, but everyone. We ask that you also join us. Don't you dare stand against us, otherwise know that the NP is guaranteed to be history. I respect your opinion. We don't need you. Do not stand against change. Be a part of it, Mr. Kivner. We can do much more together. Thank you. Mr. Richter. Rest assured, your concerns will be addressed. I expect your support, Mr. Richter. We can do much more together. I welcome your positive attitude. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Order! Order! This topic has finished. We are moving into our next topic. Alright, let's read the papers. Rayne, our constitution does not equip blah blah. Walker warns Valdan's Navy over Halian dispute. Okay. Reported that so far they have been able to get in total 121 signatures behind the proposal. Efforts are underway to increase the support and to reach out to necessary members to reach 150. Oh, that doesn't seem good. But surely we'll get there in the end. Wealth of Nations. Oh, but Kaladin, I intend to go full Canadian on the Bloods. Public Magnolia, Alliance, Trade Agreement. Then Horton wins elections. Governor Braun proposes dividing up communities in Bergia. Governor believes. Governor Braun, what are you doing? Privatization plan proposal. Ministry has finished privatization proposal plan in order to increase the resources of the health system. Additionally, the ministry's report highlighted the weakness of Swordland when it comes to potential epidemic. Okay. More than 20 high-ranking officers. Okay. Hey, it's the opening of the highway. Arriving in Lockhaven at the grand opening ceremony of the H3 Highway was a proud moment for all of us. Simon and Elias, who heavily assisted the project, were with me alongside Lucian to decide on how to proceed tomorrow. Mrs. Sup, first of all, congratulations everyone. Many more projects like this, well done. We could have done this without our excellent team. Indeed. Let's move on to our plans for opening tomorrow, blah blah blah. This is good. I have a plan on how to do that. A drive from Lockhaven to Arvory should do the trick. After the motorcade takes off, the road will be open to the public. What are your thoughts? I don't support anything beyond the opening ceremony. Actions speak for themselves. Involving the president could be beneficial for his image. I think so too. I agree. There is much to gain. A large crowd is invited for the ceremony and will be watching the opening speech. Nothing like a cheerful crowd. I'm looking forward to it. On another note, it goes without mentioning that this was a team effort, beginning with the president who put trust in me. I want to thank all involved in H3. Thank you for your kind words. It truly means a good deal. We will need to show our best face tomorrow. I'll make sure that our focus is on improving business and logistics related to wherever necessary. Alright then, we have a lot of work to do tomorrow. We'll see you in the morning. See you at the ceremony. As they have been erected next to the entrance of the highway. We're all ready to begin the ceremony. Give the green light, and the opening address begin. Brothers and sisters of Swordland, I welcome you, Caverners. Today, as a proud servants of this country, Lucian's voice echoed in the square next to the highway. Hundreds of Swordland and USP flags began to wave as the cheers intensified. Without further ado, I invite the president of Swordland to the stage. Move up to the stage. This was taking dozens of pictures. Fellow free Lacaveners, welcome to the opening ceremony of the H3 Highway. Citizens, welcome to the opening Ceremony of the H Highway. People of Swordland, welcome to the opening ceremony of the H3 Highway. At the beginning of this journey, we promised jobs and opportunity. We kept our promise. Trust me, our work is far from over. This project is only beginning of good tidings. The aim with the H3 was to improve logistics, trade businesses, and create economic growth in East Nargis and Araglan. Yeah. It brings down travel time by half. Traveling between Lekka and Eru is now faster and more comfortable. Well, this would be possible without my colleagues' sound advice to understand the material of this graph. Okay. Yeah, let's There's a perfect example of the capacity and capabilities of Swordland as a nation. Okay. Great, Lucian took Lilius's place on the stage, close the ceremony. There you have it. As promised, Anton Rayne, the fourth president of Swordland, has delivered. We move to the entrance to the highway onto the next stage. Prepare large scissors to commence the opening. Crowd was watching. Cut the ribbing. The crowd, many flashes went off at the same time. Congratulations to all. It was a solemn and fruitful effort, hopefully with much more to come. It's a good moment indeed. It gives us pride as a nation, one big step behind us. The drive to Arvory should take about 4 hours, and the rest of the motorcade will follow you. Enter the car. Who do you want to travel with? I want to have Simon in the lead car. I wonder if there's a right or wrong choice here. Let's have Lilius here. Butter her up a bit. This driving experience one could have nowadays. Okay. Today was a great victory for the administration. Cool, look at all those updates. Ceremonial scissors, very good. Rapid city growth, increased business and trade. National security threat. H3 highway. Average transportation links. News. President Rayne opens H3 highway. Is poisonable to the strength and stability of our national currency. Health requires more resources. It's more blah blah blah. Okay. Rizia and Hamburg sign economic cooperation deal. Rumburg gains naval base rights. Requested meeting of Joseph Lancy. Alright, the cubic building that housed the host of military command that resided in Hulsford. The grey brutal structure looked daunting. I never liked this building. It always made me feel like I was standing under the concrete foot of a giant getting ready to crush me. It made me feel small. I never quite got used to the feeling, even after this many years. At the entrance, I was greeted by Yusuf and his military entourage of young officers. Welcome to the Ministry of Defense, Mr. President. Let's go to my office. From quarter to quarter to reach the office. On the way, we were met by high-ranking military official officers as well as privates. Every time one of these soldiers saw me, they stopped and saluted me. When we arrived at Yosef's office, his entourage saluted us and left, closed the door and took a seat. Where is Vulcan? He usually takes part in all these things. Vulcan is busy at the moment, overseeing the defensive strategies against Radberg. He leaned back and interlocked his hand. The situation on Radberg is getting worse, and our lack of funding in the military means that we would fight for survival in a worse scenario. What are our options in improving the situation? We're making all the necessary preparations, but any substantial military support from other nations would be a welcome deterrent against Rumburg. The recent military partnership we have signed with Agnolia includes a mutual defense clause. In case of a conflict, we will be obliged to come to each other's aid. In case of a Rumburg invasion, they will come for help. Think their support would be enough to hold the line? I don't think so. Mr. President, we need stronger allies. Sure, Agnolia is better than nothing, but we must look further. Lesbia or Valdsland are options in my opinion. I'll bring it up to David. Should force them to think twice. Let's move on to our main topic. The mandatory conscription law has become a matter of discussion, and we need to strike a decision on whether to keep it or remove it. The fact are that conscription gives us a large reservist pool, but the troops lack the morale and quality to be offensive elements. Conscription, if our military can stand on its own 2 feet without them, if we are going to have strong allies, why do we need conscripts? A strong knock at the door was heard. Walked in quickly with a frown. What is the meaning of this, Yosef? Why haven't I been invited? What is going on here? You are overstepping and interrupting a personal meeting between me and the president. Vulcan deliberated the situation. I see what is going on here. I mean no disrespect, but I am leading the ground operations and I must be informed of any strategic changes. Vulcan has a point. The military needs to be on the same page on any changes. We would have brought the subject up with the general staff and you. The matter is rather simple from my point of view. We kept to our traditional army doctrine. It is not devoid of disadvantages. However, at the end of the day, Rumburg has a larger army, air force, and navy. Our conscripts will fill the much-needed weakness we have. Agreed, there is a place for reservists. I agree, any structural change would be too late and too little now. Final decision, keep mandatory conscription. We need every single body. Yeah, let's keep conscription. As you wish, Mr. President. Let me look over my documents to see if there's anything else of concern. Thank you for your time. What's on the news? Fight against BFF continues in Bergia. Okay. Yeah. How do I get rid of this freaking governor guy? Special zone declares war on bluish people. Women march for equal. Blah blah blah. Okay. Resettlement order allowing the eviction of blue citizen suspect. Oh my gosh, this is freaking nuts. Adel Hills nuclear breakthrough advanced tech promises. Okay. Just wants to stabilize the region, yeah. Briefing on the current economic situation. It's finished moving its planes to LROA Air Force Base as per the terms of the new agreement. The Arcasian military is allowed to refill and repair access to the Air Force Base in exchange for providing logistical, financial, and equipment support to Swordland. Okay. Well, let's get the briefing on the economy. Ministry of the Economy, go over the current economic situation. Possibly the most famous architect in Swordland, it was simple and elegant structure with a few of his signature domes spread out over the roof. I walked through the long bronze doors. Two assistants led me upstairs to the meeting room. Everyone stood as I entered the room, buttoning their suit jackets. Welcome, Mr. President. Please take your seats. As you all know, today we'll go over our economic status. Let's begin without any further ado. The aid we've received from Arcasia has helped us tremendously. Personally, I think it was a great decision, Mr. President. We'll use the majority of the capital to combat the recession. To do whatever it took. I'd expect nothing less from our Arcasian friends. Well said. We're doing in terms of our infrastructure. The success of the first infrastructure project is already showing a positive effect on the economy. Thanks to the highway, economic growth is returning to England. We are expecting new investments and jobs in the region. Many leaders of the Business Council have praised the logistical improvements. It was a gargantuan effort from our side of the Ministry of Economy. Your efforts are noted. Everyone who has contributed is greatly appreciated. Positive results show that we are on the right path towards economic growth. Teamwork makes the dream work. Never, ever have I seen one person accomplish what many could together. That's on our deal with Agnolia. Our trade deal has increased our imports and exports by 25% in 1 month, with much more to be expected in the future. The higher prices of mineral and steel didn't result in a trade surplus. We should look for more trade partners. We can make much more and increase our presence in the region. I agree, not just the region, we should target more deals internationally. We should see our improved relations with Agnolia as a stepping stone to expand positive influence. I agree, aligning ourselves with more democratic countries is good for Swordland. Okay. I'm confident we'll turn this mood around with adaptive projects and solutions. Bank has begun working on a bill with the Grand National Assembly to increase our preparedness for future damaging economic incidents. Okay. If we don't reduce our debt in the future, we might fall in debt crisis or worse. Whoops. I'll work on some proposals regarding taxes, generate future revenues. The recession, unfortunately, seems to be lingering still in some economic areas. Took off his glasses, put them on the table. He looked at me straight in the eye. You already know this, but I don't want to frighten you. But if you are unable to stop this recession, we are heading towards an economic catastrophe that has never been seen before in Swordland. No in all Mercopa. I can't even begin to imagine how we could survive that. None of us wants to see the Swordfish people starve while the stage is unable to provide for its citizen. Then we will need to get to work. Now, there are a few methods we can use to tackle the recession. Our debt situation is awfully bad, and I heavily advise against further expenditures. However, I will still present new projects and leave this decision to you, Mr. President. Two main distinctions between these projects. It's either about continuing our infrastructure improvements or investing in increased production. This is towards advanced country levels. However, our industrial production also needs to boost. Okay. Take any risks related to our budget. Will be finalized soon. For now, okay. There are projects that could boost our production. Two projects. One is our agricultural zone. There's the Koreat industrial city. The farmers in Bergia were the most hit by the recession. Sarna is a much poorer city than Kornriat. Has the potential to increase manufacturing in the greater Holsford region by a large amount. Could benefit from a larger manufacturing industry. It would bring the city to a position where it could rival Lakavan. Bring more financial gain. What about projects that could improve our infrastructure? One is the Benfi International Airport. The other is Morna Port. Rapid pace would benefit highly from an international airport. Much more money to be made there too. The Morna Port will boost trade and improve the flow of goods towards Holsford. Because the Conrad port is too small in capacity, and the extension is blocked by the Navy headquarters. Economic growth in Benfi could be propelled. It has yet to reach its full potential. I have enough information. I have a couple more economy related. Edith, how strong is our currency? Next is strong economic action. We can observe a 5 percentage point drop in inflation. Let's move to National Business Council. They're holding on to their investments until they feel it is safe to invest in their reserves and new hires or branches. Thank you for the information. Meeting ended. Operation Bear Trap. Ishval Urson versus Governor Braun in the Storish Constitution. Okay, how's the way with March to defend Storish tradition in Anrica? Central bank bill, a necessary measure. with a focus on bolstering foreign exchange reserves. Ishval Urshan is right. Okay. Speaking with Agnolia, Volexine increases naval presence. Okay. My President Rayne went to only to come back empty-handed. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I made the right call not signing with Welland. It might have ruined our chances of a deal with Lesbia, which I think would be better long term. Polio cases discovered in rural Suzerain. How could this have happened? Protesting against Governor Braun's resettlement order. Okay. Court of Appeals. Governor Brown's policies, including controversial, infringes upon the rights of the Blue citizens. Okay. Education privatization update. Quality of education in most major cities. Good. Meeting on the escalating tensions in Bergerac. Mr. President. Well, possible revision is the Constitution. Unfortunately, it has the potential to affect the whole country. Explain, please. So from the beginning, as you know, after discovery of K-74s in separatist hideouts, there have been more than a few attacks initiated and claimed by the BFF. Due to lack of security funding, some of these otherwise avoidable attacks couldn't be stopped. This led to some increase in tensions in Bergerac. The main problem is with the security structure of Bergerac due to the special status of the region. Operations on the ground are run by local security forces that are not bound to the interior, which means my hands are tied. However, with the rising tensions after Operation Bear Trap, we have also been receiving more and more intelligence about some kind of preparations by the terrorists. Can't allow the conflict in Welland to spread to Swordland, and we know that Welland and Swordland divisions of the BFF are in close cooperation. That's precisely why I didn't make a deal with Welland. That was the right decision. While it didn't seem to have stopped the tensions from increasing, their war against the BFF has bolstered their resolve in our country. The increasing threat of the BFF led to Governor Braun to justifiably resort to his emergency powers to curb the danger. Militant training grounds disguised as schools was commendable, as well as his quick handling of bomb threats. Okay. However, his latest policies have been questionable, especially the peaceful resettlement order, and has been met with massive anger from the majority of the Bloods in the region. This is a massive understatement. Governor Braun has abused his powers and clearly acted against the Constitution. Quite surprisingly, Ishval Urshan has managed to successfully push his case to the higher courts. He is suing Felix Braun for infringement upon liberties of Bludish people. He also raises a conflict in the Constitution and argues that the way it is written makes it open to interpretation and allows people like Governor Braun to abuse their powers. Who is Ishval Urshan? Ishval is a lawyer and Bludish rights activist. He lives in Dare and has experienced systemic region in his region firsthand. He was evicted last month from his home in Dare on the grounds of threatening public stability and safety. He was also shot at by local law enforcement forces several times in the last 2 years. Managed to survive it all so far. The attackers, of course, were never punished. As much as the eviction seems unjust, Mr. Urson must be further investigated for his potential ties to dangerous organizations. I'd like to believe the forces wouldn't have fired at him without proper reason. What the Bluish community is going through in Berge is unacceptable. We must do what it takes to stop this madness. That we must. What exactly is this case about? It's claiming that the current constitution gives legal grounds to discriminate against Bluish people, directly infringing upon the rights of as citizens. He claims Article 7 of the Constitution, citing the line every sword is equal before the law, is in direct conflict with the freedoms and rights defined in Article 100. Governor Felix Braun is accused of using Article 7 to justify his oppression of the Bluish community. Mr. Braun has sadly evicted thousands of Blutes from their homes in Dare recently. The fact that this happened in a city with relatively low levels of BFF activity is sloppy decision at best. A sloppy decision. This is a direct violation of the rights of property. The BFF activity levels have nothing to do with this. But it does, Miss Morgana. The state can take any measures to fight with terror inside its borders. The decisions would have to been justified if those neighborhoods were in fact labeled as threat level red. They were not, hence he did not have the authority to evict those citizens. In the case of Dare, the governor has definitely violated his authority. You're underplaying it. This eviction was only the last of the many ordered in the part of Burgess' peaceful resettlement policies. This is not about Dare. There are hundreds of accusations listed in the case, ranging from violent action by law enforcement officers to open discrimination in local municipalities. Calm down, Nia Dare. I'm not disagreeing with you. What exactly does Urson claim with the conflict in the Constitution? Alludes to are described in the Article 100 in further detail. All citizens, in theory, can exercise their rights described in these articles and are equally subject to the law as described. And these rights cannot be suspended by the government under any circumstance other than in defense of war. Mr. Urson claims that the line every sword is equal before the law in Article 7 does not include other ethnicities, and thus gives the state the right to suspend or limit the rights of non-swords defined in Article 100. Courts have repeatedly protected Governor Braun in the past, and it is true that he bets on Mr. Hawker, justifying his actions through Article 7. However, there is also Article 6, which the courts could have taken into account already. What is the problem with Article 6? As you know, Article 6 goes, everyone who is bound to the sword or state by citizenship is a sword, which clarifies clearly that the Constitution does not discriminate against other ethnicities or cultures. Citizens of this country are called swords. But did you ask the Bluish people what they think? Yes, it's true that this article has protected them on a number of occasions, as it defines a sword as a non-ethnic term, but it is left to the interpretation of the courts. They could have argued that Article 6 extends the rights defined in Article 7 to all citizens of Swordland, regardless of race, but they didn't yet. They can potentially push this case to the Supreme Court. In any case, the situation might be troubling if it reaches the Supreme Court and Mr. Hawker manages to sabotage it by altering the current interpretations. It would be disastrous for Bluish rights. I will be doing my best to ensure that a positive result comes out of this case, but I'm not sure if the centrists would be willing to agree with Mr. Urson. Why would Mr. Hawker even sabotage it? The current interpretation is strictly solist. I'm sure he will follow the Constitution and charge Governor Braun for his unconstitutional behavior. According to the foundational values of this republic, everyone who is a citizen of this country is a sword. The Constitution is clear about this and does not allow for discrimination. Maybe Hawker is not the man you think he is, Miss Graff. From what I've heard, his stance on the subject may not be the standard Solemnist interpretation, but something darker. I'm afraid he'll reject the case altogether and find Governor Braun innocent. If this happens, it would make the discrimination against Bluish people illegal. Do you think they would go that far? According to the rumors within the Supreme Court, yes. It is already unusual that the case is making its way up to them. I don't think this matters for our administration. We must keep out from judicial affairs. I somewhat agree with Lilius on this, and I'd prefer to keep the status quo over risking complete abolishment of rights. We still have the power to make tangible reforms. What if we can convince the justices to agree with Urson? You're right, we shouldn't meddle in the judiciary. Something the government can do to adjust the situation on the ground. It's time we push for change within the security structure of Bergia, and the special status that resulted in de facto autonomy clearly isn't working. I believe we are all aligned on this matter, President. You asked me to explore options regarding the revocation of the special zone at the beginning of your term. Given the current circumstances, I think it is now possible. That's great to hear. Tell me the details. And the Urson case have changed the mood of the lawmakers. We can use this opportunity to push for the removal of Tarkinsol's security zone decree. It is a much bigger possibility than before. Of course, racism is rampant throughout our country, but Bludish citizens inside Bergia are having a much worse time than the Bludish residents of cities like Lockhaven or Halsford. If we focus on Bergia, we can remove the special status. This alone would be a huge step for Bludish rights. Unfortunately, as long as Governor Braun is in charge of Bergia, with powers he has, no judicial reforms would reverse the situation on the ground. We want to work to restructure Bergia. It must become a region of Sortland like any other. We must centralize the system and abolish local security services. Are you sure we can revoke the special status of Bergia? Can't be sure of anything, Mr. President. You know that better than me. But Lilius and I both believe there's this potential to get MPs behind the idea. Some members of my circle inside the party are keen on this as well. They're starting to believe Sol's policy on Bergia has already run its course. Okay. If we play our cards right during the process in this case, we can gather enough support behind it. We'll have to try. We stop with Bergia. We'll have to eventually change Articles 6 and 7 as well. Okay, let's hear about the proposal. Nia and I both agree that we need to abolish the special zone. So it also means taking away the special authority of the governor. I agree, but by removing the governor as well as his insane authority, but I don't support a complete centralization of the region. I propose that we restructure the special zone, democratize it, and acknowledge the Bluish movement. How does that resolve anything? How do you solve the problem by dividing the region from the rest of Sortland? We've tried that already. Hold on, Lilia. I want to hear Nia's proposal. Millions of Bluish people suffered over the last decade. We saw massive uprising, terror attacks, and a governor going rogue. These people only wanted to live in this country as equal, but they were denied that. Why don't we allow Bergians to elect their own local government? Why is Halsford so keen on prying into the lives of Bluish people? We should replace the oppressive laws of the special zone with a democratic system that allows for a proper local representation. I propose the Bergia semi-autonomous region. I'm sorry to tell you, Miss Morgana, but Bergia is part of Swordland as much as Anglin or Halsford. You're bringing secessionists early age of lifelong quest here. Your proposal, what's wrong with you? What next? Secession of Bergia and a formation of an independent Bluish state? Autonomy for Anglin? And why don't you hold a referendum for the Rooms of Esterd and ask them if they want to join Rumberg while you're at it? Bergia shouldn't have any restrictions or privileges compared to any other region. I also want to hear Ms. Graff's proposal before deciding. My proposal is very simple. The special zone must be fully revoked, the governor's powers taken away, and the local security forces must be abolished. Only then Bergia can become an equal part of Sortland. I propose we unite Bergia with the rest of Sortland and enforce the same laws and policies any other Sordish region, dismantling the current semi-independent security structure in the process. We will hold local municipal elections just like in every other city in Bergland. The security of the region will also be under full control of the Ministry of the Interior. We can no longer allow their forces to pursue violence with impunity. This was a problem with that the central government could fix. Your mighty colonel would have solved it already. The assimilation policies clearly didn't work. does that have to do with anything? I'm just saying that the solution is not a rushed unification. We must acknowledge that Bridge is a unique region with its own culture and history. We cannot disregard the social reality. Must finally listen to what the British people want. Let's go with a semi-autonomous region. Yeah, but telling the Bloods they're the same will make them want to show they are different even stronger, even more, and increase tensions. They clearly aren't. As been decided, Miss Morgana, you can get to work immediately. I'm counting on you. Just immediately flip-flop. Okay. Incredibly furious, but kept it to herself. I doubted she would forget about this. To have a structure that will actively solve the problems of the region, we will need to conduct in-depth research beforehand. I believe we can take some time. My estimate is the proposal will be ready sometime after your constitutional amendments are voted on. You can choose whether to enact it then. Sounds good, Miss. There's another option out. Sounds good, Miss Morgana. I'm counting on you. Okay. Gas and thrives. New investment yields success. Rising star in United Contana. Okay. Balanced energy prices in Lockhaven. Oh, look at this. Investment in mega project. Okay. Ministries put forward 4 bold plans of investment projects with the aim of solve different issues. For Benfi International Airport, Morna Seaport, Conriat Industrial Zone, and Sarna Agricultural Zone. Why is it odd? I'm from Quebec, Khaled. It's a recognition of cultural difference. Let's invest in our industry and get it really bumping. Or the airport, because they said both of these could give us the most financial returns. So either the industrial zone or the airport. Let's believe in the airport. Yeah, budget gets spent even more. Central Bank Reinforcement Act. Will strengthen stability, boost the overall economy. -1 governmental budget. Well, let's support Edith. We'll sign it. Bye, budget. Central Bank Reinforcement Act, fiscal protection measures. A stronghold for Swartland. A misguided attempt at control. Budget allocations of healthcare. I'm afraid we don't have much budget left. Polio crisis in Welland. Please take your seats. Very troubling news from Welland, Mr. President. From meeting with our top scientists on the matter, it seems to be spreading. By researchers, right, there will soon be millions of people affected by polio. We have notified all of our healthcare staff, especially the ones closer to Welland border. Unfortunately, these are also the more rural areas where we lack the equipment and staff. Need to be ready for any possibility. Yes, of course. Let's start. Put down the papers. Clearly sort of looked at me. In general, the ministry is somewhat content with the budget decisions that was made. At least we didn't get a cut. Still happy that the administration continues to support healthcare at some levels before, though this limits our options significantly. It will require more investment. I'm sure we can improve what we have. We will have to make do with what we have. I want you to lead the way. It's not a decision that I made lightly. I'm sure, Mr. President. It's not questioning you that, but I don't see many ways to get out of this particular incident. We need funds for improvements. As you know, I've been preparing a new privatization program that would create funds through the selling of unused ministry property and some extra taxes. Might not go against our strategy to promote a market economy, but I'm personally against privatization of governmental services, such as vital services must be under state control. Aside from creating additional funds, there's a long-term problem with privatization in a country like Sordland. What are those problems? People are already lacking proper healthcare, even though it is free. What happens when you privatize? Prices increase as state hospitals close due to sales. Will prevent the worst case scenario. There needs to be a healthy structural improvement in this sector. This is not Acacia nor Lepsia. We are talking about Sordland, in which the healthcare is free for now. We have people who have their lives depending on the service that is free to them. Messing with that structure will definitely hurt us politically in the future. That I know for sure, but the choice is yours, Mr. President. We will promote privatization and allow the private sector to invest and buy government's health properties. Let's keep it the same. Thank you for the meeting. Thousands protest new government of Hayland. Okay. Talks his friends Richter on the upcoming vote. Well, then military assaults initiates assaults on targets. Lots of refugees heading towards the border. We're nearly complete. Soon we're going to... box of famous Arcasian chocolates. You are a fan of Arcasia, aren't you? A fan of their chocolates, yes. He pointed to the box. You don't like them? Oh, that's not what I meant. Thanks for the gift. He took a folder from his briefcase, flipped it open. I could see the scribbles he'd made on the margins of my draft proposals. I have to say, I am surprised by this proposals you prepared. I really don't understand your reasoning behind some of the changes. I thought we were on the same page. I thought so too, but it seems I was wrong. You are not reforming the presidential decree process. That was not all what we talked about. This has become the opposite of democratic. How are you calling this a democratic process package? These are all necessary to maintain stability. Be realistic, Mr. Richter. This is the best we can do. A realist? Is that your excuse, Mr. President? So this proposal is realistic, but what we demand is not? And you're saying that this while you're begging me for my party support? Be it small or great, a step forward is a step forward. Or I'm still not sure what to make of it. What are you thinking about? You're putting all the reformists in a tough spot like this, Mr. Rayne. I'm sure it was tough to persuade your party to support this proposal. This is what happens when you expect the USP to bring change. Don't expect me to sympathize with you. Not only have you minimized the potential of the reforms, you're taking the spotlight away from the FJP members who campaigned for these reforms for years. Is the idealist reformist asking for a bribe? So you're looking for political gain after all. You sure you have something in mind? Democracy more than anything, Mr. President. I also have to look out for myself and my party. Surely you understand. And if we're talking about democracy, I first need to trust your agenda, and I currently do not. First bill you signed effectively removed all other parties from funding. You are hijacking the election from the start. How can I trust you now? That bill also increased your funding, Mr. Richter. It was passed by the assembly. All I did was sign it into law. Nothing a check worth close to $1 million couldn't handle. I can try to give you a cabinet position. Try my best to convince my people to support this proposal, even though they have their problems with it. I can't promise you full support, but then you can't promise me anything either. If everything works out, I'll expect you to at least try to fulfill your promise. If you can get me a cabinet position after we enact the reforms, I'd be a great partner to have on the inside. Sounds good. Before you leave, I'd like to address a few things I've heard about you. You have some sort of secret partnership with President Dwight Walker. There are rumors about his influence on you. As you know, the downfall of President Alfonso was abrupt. Our last meeting before the USP abandoned him is not gone, still pulled the springs behind his back against his reformist agenda, and he feared everything could collapse around him. It did. Afterwards, the party voted union. I don't think it was a coincidence, Mr. Rayne. You think Saul and the Old Guard orchestrated all of this? Yes, they knew that Alfonso's reforms would cripple their strength and remove them from power, so they removed him first. After I realized the true extent of the Sol's deep state influence, we're in this together, so I'll be honest. I lost hope that Suzerain could ever achieve the liberties of democracy that I had been working so hard for, as long as Saulism was still alive and well, so I decided to act. Act how? I was contacted by an Arcasian senator and one of the Arcasia's biggest tycoons, and I decided to agree to their meeting in hopes of receiving support. Let him continue. I flew to Arcasia, and I eventually met President Walker. He offered political and economic support for me and my party, asking us to lead Swordland into the democratic sphere and become a member of ATO. But the exploitative conditions he was demanding would have had crippling effects on our economy. I told them that I was only there to increase economic cooperation and nothing else. I did not get their support, nor did I do anything illegal. To this day, I feel ashamed to have gone to the feet of Arcasia like that, but at least I managed to stop myself from becoming the very thing I've been fighting against. I am grateful that you're telling me all of this. You have the authority to investigate this and potentially prosecute it for me. I gave you my trust. I hope I have yours too. I will always acknowledge my wrongs and keep fighting for a better future. I believe we are not that different in this. You are correct. I hope to be together in this fight for a better future. I mean, he had the best interests of... Why would I arrest him? He's going to support our reforms. Hey, he didn't sell out. He didn't sell out Swordland, so it's fine. You're correct. I hope we're better. No, he didn't. Nonsense. Okay. Victory Day celebrations. Rayne meets Richter. Richter backs Rayne's reforms. So this party full support to the constitutional changes. He asked members of this party to follow him in this endeavor and set aside their differences for the greater good of the country. Yeah. So if we get these guys on our side, surely that will be enough. Award company contract. Several companies have put forward their bids for the new investment project. SEC, Underhall Construction, and Taurus Holding Companies have put forward their bids for the hopes of winning the government contract. Ambitious investment project. Which company should we pick to lead the project? For the good of Swordland, Kaladin. Let's go with Taurus Holdings again. Mainly because screw that company that tried to bribe me. After a meeting with the rector and briefing tour of the University of Logan, we gathered in the room of Sierra. It was visible from the windows, students reading books. Okay. How were your university years? Usual story. A few friends dead, a couple of them missing after the coups. Oh, and I was almost arrested once. Oh, we all went through tough times back then. Yeah, it does keep getting bigger. Let's not get sidetracked. I want to start off by saying this. It comes as a welcome surprise in Swedish politics to see a president uphold their promises regarding education. No, that would be very illegality. And I'm making sure that the additional funds are being used in the best way possible in order to resolve structural issues we're speaking of. Having had to rely on privatization funds is a disgrace. We are letting private interests meddle in the most essential service, learning. New private schools are increasing the disparity, blah, 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 blah. Okay. I want to thank you for allowing me to lead the education system in the right direction by removing nationalist indoctrination. Okay. So we're letting these visionaries like you. We're onto something promising and grand, Mr. President. Our ministry has prepared the necessary framework regarding how to spend our increased education budget. I've outlined 3 potential options. We can build new rural schools, improving the standards of existing ones, or increase salaries for all education workers. Because of the additional funds from the privatization on top of the budget increase, we should be able to implement 2 of these options. Plan to build new rural schools. Okay. Okay. Why should we increase the salaries? Okay. What does improving rural schools entail? So you need the equipment and materials. Desks and textbooks. Okay. I'm ready to decide. Build new rural schools. Our primary goal must be to increase access to education. I want to increase the salaries. Increase salaries, build new schools. Build new rural schools. I've talked to Miss Suno. Okay. Thank you for your efforts. Keep up the good work. Content education workers, accessible rural education. Look at all the green under welfare. We're doing so well. Don't mind the budget. Security pact. What polio? Okay, very good. That's a whale-in problem. Files. Ministry of Justice files. Put forward its concurrent opinion before sending the dispute to the Supreme Court. The majority court dissent would be... The case is now in the hands of the Supreme Court. Yeah, we're reading lots of books, so overblown rights case appealed. New mega project Menfi International Airport. Well, in refugees fleeing disorder's border. Espen case goes to the Supreme Court. Fearless bluish lawyer. Blood seeks refuge in Swordland. At least 100,000 bloods. Oh gosh. Oh, they're gonna bring all the polio in. No, no. Okay. State shares divestment. The state can sell shares in Gasum with varying budgetary results. Gee, sell off the shares now or keep them? Kind of need money now. Our budget's not looking too hot. Let's sell 2/3 of the shares. Where's my money? I guess it'll take time. Briefing on the current curriculum in the schools. All narrow and wedge-shaped light. Near the front gate, there were many statues of world-renowned scientists. Was Edwin Einstein, the greatest scientist of all time. Okay. Education is the premise of progress in all societies and all families. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Sierra. Cut straight to the chase. Our progressive reform of the Suzerain education system is well underway, but there's one sticking point. It involves evolution versus creationism. As it currently stands, schools across Sutherland can decide whether to include evolution, creationism, or both in their curriculum. Rural schools often decide in favor of creationism only, which puts students at a disadvantage when it comes to entering university. My suggestion is to make the teaching of evolution mandatory, and preferably ban creationism altogether. I don't agree with teaching our children supernatural nonsense like creationism. Okay. Evolution ought to be banned. I don't agree with teaching our children supernatural nonsense like creationism. That's great to hear. It sounds like we are already aligned on the matter. Knocked and entered. Excuse me, some urgent business kept me away. Welcome, Mr. Gallade, Mr. President, Miss Welda. Why were you late? Yeah, he's never late. The general staff had some concerns about the Rumberg border. I already provided you with a report, nothing else, okay? We were just discussing the curriculum. Sierra has made some excellent points. Very well, let's hear them. Continuing from my previous point, it is my conviction that we should require mandatory teaching of evolution in Sutherland public schools and cut creation completely out. If we want children from rural areas to have the same opportunities as their urban counterparts, this is the way. Miss Walda, don't bring your pet cause into this. Mr. President, there are other considerations you may not have thought about. Although I myself believe in evolution, we must be careful not to alienate our rural conservative voter base. We owe a lot of their support. Forcing their school districts to teach evolution could irreparably damage our standing with them. Every modern nation is reducing or removing creationism in their curriculum, yet we are supposed to allow schools to promote fundamental and yes, sexist ideas from 1,000 years back? So is that what we are doing now? Copying what other nations are doing instead of paving our own way? If it works, why not? Look at the analysis. It is clear that the superpowers are doing something right. Should we Reinvent the wheel, Mr. Gallade? You speak as if we don't import any influence from other countries. That's not what I said. Can still we can still allow creationism to be taught alongside evolution. Sarah, you could live with that. Yes, although I won't like it, I still believe schools are no place for religion. I won't like it either. You'll have to prepare to lose a lot of voters. Don't forget, future generations of Soil youth are counting on you. From now on, creationism will make the teaching of evolution mandatory, but schools may promote creationism alongside it if they wish. We'll have a better outcome than banning creationism altogether. Okay. Yay! Economy stabilizes. Republic of Magnolia. Increase manufacturing output of the region immensely due to the combined effects of the H3 highway passing through the region. Perfect. Canal. Okay. Volgan is reporting a slight dip in employment rates as well as shuttering of some local small businesses. Okay. Welland operation a mix of sex. Welland's drawing against the bluish front to a close. So that Welland's army went a long way towards neutralizing the bluish threat. There were many preventable casualties. Welland's best effort, not all hideouts have been eradicated, and anti-Smolak sentiment is at an all-time high among the remaining insurgents. Presidential state car rode to Jen. Ooh, it's 11 o'clock, okay. Drove us to the city of Jen, the stronghold of Sorus Nasalis, for an event organized by the opposition parties to discuss current events. In reality, it's probably to show Sutherland that the leaders of the assembly could sit around the same table. Proud patriots from all ages gathered to celebrate the end of the Sword Civil War and Tarkinsol's victory. One of the worst atrocities of war, and his victory celebrations were the most jubilant in all the Swordland. But working about new developments, Ishval Ersin case was invited as well. Okay, yes. Nia departed Holsford first. Peter and I left on our own a little while later. Peter was sitting next to me in the presidential car, skimming through morning newspapers in silence. Suddenly, Surge rolled down the soundproof window. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, we're about to arrive at the Gen Culture Center. Miss Morgana had already arrived, and she'll be waiting for you. Wow, that was too comfortable of a ride to have been this fast. Thank you, Serge. I hope the journey was comfortable, sir. Sir was. Serge took a left hand, drove through the tiny streets of Jen. The city looked surprisingly clean and well maintained. There was no sign of the destruction the city had suffered during one of the heaviest battles of the Civil War. Looks like the NFT mayors have really transformed the city. Wasn't this an abandoned warehouse from the longest time? I believe it used to function as a rebel militia base during the... and a little while after the Civil War. Oh right, the Black Battalion. Let's not sour the mood with memories of the Civil War. So we stopped the car and went outside to hold our doors. Here we are, sirs. I hope you have a great day. The comically large amount of flags almost fully enveloped the building around the plaza in maroon, white, and gold. Swinning in his iconic brown suit, watching this guy. Look at this guy, so full of himself. How did this clown convince the PFJP to have trilateral talks with them anyway? Probably the same reason why we're here. It's Victory Day, remember? How can I forget? Lucian nagged about the importance of the day for 20 minutes straight. It broke my soul. Thank you for being here on this glorious day, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President. The former mayor of Gen, it is an honor to welcome you to this fine city. Okay, thank you, Mr. Kiemner. It's like you were a good mayor. Maybe you should think of a local office again. Thank you, Mr. Kiemner. Representatives of blah. Before we go in, is there any way we can discuss how you can help us with the constitutional changes? I am afraid not. Besides, this is neither the time or a place for such a conversation. So be it. These meetings can still possibly influence some of our members. Let's just go inside now. Please follow me. We enter the building and walk through a massive conference hall till we approach the door towards the back of the building. We'll have the meeting here. Open the door from us and we enter the room. Okay. As soon as we entered, Nia came to greet us after showing our seats. Sat down with his deputy, Remus Holstrom. Oops. Such a meaningful day. Thank you for coming here on behalf of your parties. But despite the festive atmosphere, we and the PFJP want to raise a few important concerns about the worrying state of affairs in Swordland. Very worrying indeed. Mr. Richter and his analysts have been working on an analysis of the blood problem. As soon as they brought it up, we gave our support without reservation. The blood problem? Mr. Holt, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the analysis is about racism and radicalization in Swordland. Our main topic is the case of Urson versus Swordland. Please don't try to spin it. Of course, Mr. Holson just wanted to point out that the analysis was focused mainly on topics related to the Bluish people. Why are we discussing this on Victory Day? I'm surprised that your parties have conducted a joint analysis. I refuse to discuss this topic without any Bluish representation. That's an interesting response. I like this response. I refuse to discuss this topic without any Bluish. Actually, Mr. President is completely right. Hold up, guys. Let's hear them out first. We are representing the parties of the Assembly here. We did invite representatives of the Workers' Party of Bludia to join us, but they refused. Another proof that they have a different agenda. If they were truly concerned, genuinely concerned for the plight of their people, they would have come today. But their people shouldn't worry. The Sworders Patriots are here to defend them instead. I'll hear you out, but know that I will not act on anything before talking to the representatives of the Bluish community. Our analysis of the current tensions between Bluish and Sworders populations in the Swordland displays a worrying picture. As much as I hate to say it, the threat of the Bluish Freedom Front is getting real again. The situation with Rumberg and Wellen is really concerning. Action of the Governor of Bergia is resulting radicalization of many young Bluish people. Distressingly, the number of radicals have increased significantly after Welland's Operation Bear Trap. that the recruitment numbers of the BFFs have significantly increased within the nearest communities. That is correct. The reports show that 39 Nura sanctuaries in Bergia are now classified as red threats by the authorities. Many priests in the region are also suspected of having ties to the BFF. The Religious Harmony Bill would have directly crippled this network they established within our sanctuaries, as the threat to the BFF poses is a direct one. Direct action that would bear direct results. I'm disappointed at the lack of action taken by the USB and administration. And what do you suggest we do? Our suggestion is to finally enforce the official language of our country as stated in the Constitution. We're working on the Unified Language Act. It is directly aimed at the breeding grounds of the Bluish Freedom Front. The police have infiltrated 32 BFF training grounds in remote towns around Bergia that pose as middle schools. Despite all the evidence, similar schools keep popping up. So-called activists are constantly blocking Governor Braun's attempts to stop these schools, claiming he is attacking their right to language. Can't take away the Bluish people's life to be educated in their language. This is insane. Please read the proposal carefully. It does not take away anyone's rights. It only gives the state a way to control the radicalization in these schools that teach Bluish nationalist propaganda. And according to the Constitution, the language of Swordaland is Swordish. If nothing is being done to enforce that, we are breaching the Constitution. This law simply enforces it. With all due respect, Mr. Kibner, this bill is not strong enough. The Bluish language should be completely banned. You know, people like Miss Suhail and Miss Morgana will never even vote for your watered-down bill. Remus. Cassaro repositioned himself in his chair and continued. True, it does not ban Bluish language or Bluish education. It will instead make Swordish mandatory to learn for everyone living in the country. This will only decrease tensions in the long term. That's a fair point. However, the wording of the bill is far too vague to work as intended. It gives the government too much power over educational institutes. I disagree. The language is quite clear and is in line with the Constitution. We can still improve it, of course. It is true that it gives more control, but it is necessary compromise. I'll have to read the detail to decide if I can support it. I'll have to read it. Let's not make a statement that the party hasn't agreed on yet. Take every anti-blue decision. As if the PFJP had the influence to change the outcome. If I may continue our analysis, the situation is also connected to Rumberg, as everybody already knows. In the case of a future incursion, BFF forces in Swordaland could become an existential threat. Maybe the RFP influencer is more than you think, Mr. Richter. That's why we have to remove the authority of the governor. We have to do something about it because the reality is secessionists are on the rise. Our analysis matches that with the Ministry of the Interior shared with us, but despite this fact, we believe the Ministry is hiding information from us, which is actively fueling tensions behind the scenes. As much as I now support the strict response against the BFF, it must also be coupled with expansion of rights for the Bluish people. This is the only way to fight against radicalization. That is BFF propaganda. What rights are we talking about here? What can a sword in Swordaland do that a blood cannot? You are using soft language as a cover-up for your willingness to negotiate with terrorists. You are a BFF apologist, Mr. Richter. Remus shouted the last sentence. Peter tapped on the table to get his attention. Please don't raise your voice, Mr. Holstrom. The mood in the room had turned sour. Is the USP that desperate for Mr. Richter's support now? Not only bellowed out a loud laugh. Mr. Vectorn is the last person to sway the PFJP. What is that supposed to mean? Can we return to the topic? Please finish your point, Mr. Rector. We require your support with a more pressing matter. This might have a very significant consequence for our Bluish citizens and may serve as a dangerous trigger if we're not careful. At Manoli, she carefully placed several pieces of paper in front of her. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, and Miss Minster, As you already know, there is a major Supreme Court case at the moment. Suing... Okay, yes. Because of the argument and the implication, Felix Braun, and consequently the very Constitution of Sortland, is under trial. The fact is, he needs to be punished, and the Constitution must be reviewed. Please explain. I was actively involved in this case because of the implications with the Constitution. There is no way the Supreme Court will agree with Ishval Urson on all of the points. Not if all three parties of the Assembly support Urson together. We can put pressure on them, and we only need them to agree on a few of those points. All parties? Is the NFP really willing to support Urson, Mr. Kebener? For peace and harmony in Sortland, yes, but perhaps we must clarify the details first. What's the significance of this case? Well, this against will most likely turn into a BFF campaign for Bluish Revolution. We ask everybody to recognize this. And the NFP are ready to push for de-escalation and aid our nation in this dangerous time. I would never have expected that from you. Because the case is now at the hands of the Supreme Court, the ruling will influence all future implementations of the law and decision-making in the lower courts. We have the Minister of Justice here with us too. I'm sure she would not disagree with what I just said. I'm afraid Mr. Kebener is right about this. If the court ignores the case now, this may turn into something massive. Therefore, we have to pressure the court not to escalate the already high tensions. What do you really think will happen if the court ignores it? Another all-out BFF rebellion, Mr. President. In my opinion, that would be the preferred outcome. If enemies do truly live within our borders, I'd rather have them show their true faces earlier than later. That's exactly what those damn Rums want. They are readying for war and waiting to see intentions on the side Sortland against us. We can't allow that to happen. We definitely can't. What is the most likely outcome of this case? First, the most likely option is that the Supreme Court completely ignores the arguments and rejects it in its entirety. If they ignore all the points and strike against Urson, Governor Braun will be free to follow his discriminatory policies without any obstacles. And in a possible future course, the court's interpretation of the Urson case will be the basis which opens the way to suspending rights of non-swords. It would effectively erase any progress that has been made regarding Bluish rights, and it will embolden anti-Bluish proponents. We definitely can't let that happen. That would be disastrous for our Bluish citizens. Exactly. While our expectation is to see a different result this time, the stakes can be higher. What are your plans and suggestions? In short, the plan is to release a unified statement to the justices declaring our support for Urson and explaining why this is so important. The only good result would be if the Supreme Court reiterates its commitment to the Pillar of Unity in Solism. Mr. President, despite previously being against it, I now completely understand where Sortland still needs Solism. We need unity more than ever. Article 6 is that unity. We do not need solace unity. If the court reiterates the definition of sword in Article 6 as an all-encompassing term, they would be acknowledging that Urson and others like him are indeed protected by the rights of the sword peoples, which they are. As a result, the resettlement policy in Dare would be reversed, opening the way for Governor Braun's removal and de-escalation of tensions in Bridgia. Does that mean the existence of the Bluish people is literally not being acknowledged? Exactly. Our current constitution fails to recognize the Bluish people. It is time we abolish the inherent racism in it. citizens of Swordland are sword. The Constitution clearly defines that in Article 6. Encompasses everybody. This shouldn't be up for debate. What racism are you talking about? Solism is based on civic nationalism, not ethnic. I do not understand why someone would go against such a broad and inclusive law. I don't see the commies criticizing their content and identity, when in fact that country is filled with different ethnicities. Why are you even comparing Swordland with the United Continent? Are you right, Mr. Kuebner? You're funny, Mr. President. My point is, people like the Meliniev do not call themselves Kiovian over Kontanen. Why is it that the Bloods cannot do the same? Why does Swordland have to be divided? Pointing out that Kontana is the word for geographic entity, unlike sword. It's the Swordland. You can subscribe to whatever idea you want, but if you are a citizen, you are a sword. That has how nations work. As the Bloods do not respect or recognize the laws of authority of Swordland, they'd rather separate themselves from swords and protest the very laws that protect them. They can cry about injustice and ask Swordland's enemies to come and save them. I personally do not agree with the Bloods or swords. Saul is crap. I can't believe the words are being thrown around at this meeting. And what is the position of the PFJP? Personally, somewhat agree with Mr. Kuebner on this. However, our position as the PFJP is that Article 6 does indeed discriminate against non-swords, and having a positive outcome for this case alone doesn't suffice. We agree to come together in support of Ishval Urson, but we believe that our statement should include the acknowledgement of the inherent racism within the Constitution. Must use this opportunity to show the flaws in the Constitution if the court agrees that there is in fact conflict between the articles or recognize the discrimination. And the Hawker Court is going to listen to that. Besides, we do not agree with your inherent racism hogwash. You have to state that it is your party's opinion and does not reflect the NFP. We won't take part in that. That would make the statement look weak and disorganized. If there's no consistent strategy, I don't think it would work. I think I have enough information to be able to see we are deep in the mud here. Well, I think NFP's stance would do some good for the Bludish without provoking the establishment, but even that might be risky right before the vote. But the PFJP stance would be too radical for a party. I think it might be better to keep our administration out of this. I am not sure if it's worth the risk right before you vote for our reforms, but the decision is yours. Only way to decrease tensions, and Supreme Court can't afford to look hypocritical, so they'll take the Solace side. Is the PFJP. As much as I don't agree with it, we are willing to compromise and join in. But if you're going to do it this way, we still need to make our separate statement as party policy. What do you think, Peter? I think this is risky on time, but if it works, which it actually might, could make a difference. If the court really feels the pressure and accepts it, the lower courts will need to adhere to their interpretation. It might not get rid of the legal discrimination, but it could at least decrease it. Coming soon. It's a real leap of faith. What do you suggest we do, Miss Morgana? I definitely do not agree with Mr. Kuebner and Mr. Holston. I don't see Solism's unity working in reality, but I have to say that pushing this position could have an effect on the outcome of the case. Mr. Hawker can agree with the traditional Solist interpretation after all. However, as long as our law enforcement forces are filled with anti-Blood officers, I don't believe the change on the ground will be so visible. And I truly believe they will be convinced. Right thing to do, Mr. President. Now is the time for weak and superficial actions. We can show the people of Swordland that the reality of the situation and create precedent for future constitutional amendments of these articles. No, we are willing to give our support for Urson for the violation of the rights to his property, but if you're going to go that way, we would have to make two separate statements. Okay. What do you think, Peter? I don't think this would work, Anton. Hawker won't be influenced, plus it would further antagonize them against our reforms. We will definitely lose votes. In my opinion, would be seen as leader of this table, not us. I agree with Mr. Richter. I personally think we should join them in their statement. I also agree that Chief Justice Harker won't have his sudden change of heart because of it, but we must put pressure on the justices nonetheless. I think I've made my own position clear in the end. It is your decision. I think I've heard enough. Yes, people join the statement. We will argue that Article 6 and foolish people are considered swords before the law, as Mr. Kubener suggested. I don't want to release a unified statement with the opposition. We will not involve ourselves in this case. Oh. What to do? Because if I choose this, then it'll prevent... It would stop me from... This would be an argument against creating a semi-autonomous region. We will not involve ourselves in this case. Okay. Largest ever victory celebration. Nationalize the Big Four now. Co-investment strategy pays off. Creations will still be allowed, but this may not be enough to mollify right-wingers. Future of Swordland. Political differences at Victory Day. Force the schools to evolve slightly. Okay. But the government has been put into various programs for new companies, technology fairs, and dares. Okay, good. Got some share sales results. Approved include sell the sales. Low returns. Oh man. Come on. Foreign investment in Vlagan energy section. Okay, let's do this event. Chief Strategist Lishan Ghaled has a well-planned lobbying effort in the Parliament, which would specifically sway on the fence MPs of the upcoming Constitution vote. The plan includes lavish parties, gifts, and some political favors. Should we go ahead with the plan? Spend a generous amount of money to sway MPs. It's personal wealth, so let's Vaska that money. Okay. Victims of changes. Okay. And I think I will end it here. As I was in the end of a chapter. And it's a good spot to stop things. Let's see if there's anybody else streaming. Oh, Blobber's gone. Alright, I'll send you guys over to Blobber. Beware the Blobber. Alright, thanks for hanging out, everybody. I will catch you all next time.